a few months after that, well, a good few months, Rick sort of sent me a message. What is it now? 6 weeks, a couple of months ago. I forget when this all started.
Yeah.
But he's like, "How are you doing?" And immediately I was like, "Oh, these are leading questions."
It's already out there. There are already the comparisons because there are now two entities that exist that
Yeah.
embody the same musical thing.
I've seen some of those comments, but we've agreed as a band to just keep it positive. So we're not going to get involved in any bun fights. It's a case of if there's a negative comment, you just block it and move on. We're effectively playing our own songs as a tribute or a cover band, aren't we? Because we're not MDB, but we are, and so it's a weird sort of disparity and duality of existence that we're going through.
You've kind of gone from being out of the music scene entirely to announced to be playing the Wacken Festival in the space of like less than 2 months.
Yeah, it's
something
kind
like
of
that.
quite the return, isn't it? Just kind of took 18 years to learn how to play bass and then sort of popped back in. So he never had an idea of where that was going to go and how big that would actually end up being.
Do you accept the statement now that you've played on one of the classic albums?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's somewhat embarrassingly. It's I don't want to big myself up or anything, but it has had a huge impact on kind of the music scene.
How do you feel about 34.78? And I'll frame it by saying I like it, but a lot of people didn't like that record for various reasons. Lethal, you're here. Welcome back to The False Face. If you're the kind of person that skips the intro to podcasts, get the hell out of here! But seriously, there are chapter points if you want to skip ahead all of this waffle, and there are going to be approximately 10 minutes of waffle. Do you remember the time Zac Efron did that in one of the High School Musical films? No, if you're hearing this channel, you probably don't. But yeah, he checks his watch and then turns and runs the other direction. But there's nothing there, just his teenage wrist flash. This week I'm joined by Adrian Jackson of Towards the Sinister to talk about Towards the fucking Sinister, to talk about My Dying Bride, to talk about reunion and renewal. Ad Jackson is a fucking UK Death Doom OG, and it's an extreme pleasure, privilege, honour, all of those usual things to talk to this guy. Rick Maya, of course, friend of the show, friend of me, hooked us up, and if you want to hear more about Towards the Sinister, get subscribed, because next week Aaron Stainthorpe is going to be on the show, and who knows who might else join us on the call. But for this week's conversation, you get to hear what Aid thinks about Turn Loose the Swans' status as a classic album, about the composition of The Cry of Mankind, what he thought about 34.788% complete, and weathering lineup changes in the evolution of a band's legacy. It's a really, really fun chat, and it was really, really nice to meet him, especially like with Rick, not having heard anything about him for so long. But what else is new here in the world of The False Face? I've got my porridge cooling on the windowsill, which you can't see, but there is a window right beside me here, like an old timey mountain woman that lives up the hills. And the oats has got to cool before they can be consumed. But what else can we talk about? How about I get some promo done first of all? As you can see, you can now get Mental Health for Metalheads t-shirts. Ed Rapke has actually put these up on his own. It's a TeePublic, I think, but I'll get the links in the description so you can get one of these. But like, this artwork deserves to be on a t-shirt, just like it deserves to be on the front of this book, which you can now order and should do. I've got a dedicated pre-recorded promo package for that coming up shortly. I also want to give one last minute shout out to Paul Ryan, ex-Cradle of Filth, ex-Blood Divine, current cyclist, who's riding with the heavy metal truants up to Bloodstock this weekend. Paul's also got a charity drive going for that. Charity cycle, I suppose I should say. That's linked in the description. I've got a wee bit of a promo coming up for that as well. And Paul's going to be in the show in a couple of weeks to talk. I don't know, who knows what he wants to talk about, but we're going to talk. And yeah, let's just talk about Opeth gig review. How about that first one of these? Went to see Opeth at the Board Gas Energy Theatre in Dublin, which is formerly the Grand Canal Theatre. I don't know what it used to be called. I think the Board Gas Energy Theatre is a really, really unflattering name for what is probably the most beautiful venue I've ever been inside. It was absolutely extraordinary place to see a death metal band. Opeth are still touring the Last Will and Testament. Problem with this CD copy is, like, you can see that there against the glint of the morning sun here in Northern Ireland, well, the morning grey, is that the sticker for the age rating for the DVD/Blu-ray peeled off some of the gloss, and as a consequence it looks like fuck all. But similarly, I didn't want to get the album on vinyl because it's an album that has to be listened to with the least amount of effort possible, sticking the CD on and letting it play from front to back, which is the only way I've ever listened to this album, apart from when the first single dropped. I listened to it a bunch of times before the album came out, but I've only ever listened to the album in full since then. Listening to it in vinyl, I'd have to get up 3 times to change it, so I went for the CD, even though I love the artwork, and it would be quite nice to own, and maybe at some stage I probably will get it on vinyl. And as you're going to see in a couple of minutes, I'm not shy of buying extra copies of things. But Last Will and Testament is, I mean, could it be the best Opeth album? It might be the best Opeth album. It's beyond a return to form, which is a really, really lazy 3-word phrase to describe something like this. What The Last Will and Testament is a band, and indeed a composer like Michael Ackerfeld, synthesizing every element of, it's like a destination, because he did all kinds of different things, and then he tried something else, and went very steadily in one direction for quite a long time, and was very resistant to look back, I think. And I think what he did was he did look back with regards to the heavier elements of their sound and what he could do with his voice. And he looked backwards and found a way to turn that looking backwards into moving forwards. This is waffly, but I tend to waffle. But I just think it's an absolutely extraordinary album. And it's the beautiful thing about the 8 tracks not really having song titles, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a story never told, is it lends itself to like having to sit down and listen to it. But the problem is that they can't play that album front to back like they have done with some of their other albums. Deliverance, no, it wasn't Deliverance, it was Damnation, which was on the Shepherd's Bush DVD, and then the Royal Albert Hall show, which was Blackwater Park, which I was at. So you can spot me in the crowd, and if you can spot me in the crowd, I will send you 1,000 points. Answers on a postcard. Answers on a postcard as to having spotted me. Yeah, yes, Paul, I've spotted you in the crowd. Can I have my 1,000 points? The answer will be yes. Anyway, The Last Will and Testament is brilliant, but sadly, by Michael's own admission, it's not the kind of album you can play live in its entirety, because some of those songs have so many layers in them that you couldn't play them live. But they did play 1, 7, and 3, as well as a whole bunch of other tracks that a number of which I wasn't expecting to hear. And if this is a spoiler for you, if you've got tickets to see Opeth on any of their upcoming shows, then switch off for a minute or so. But they played Godhead's Lament off Still Life, which was really, really surprising. They played Hex Omega, which was only surprising because I've seen them play it live before. But yeah, interesting if you're going to pick a song off Watershed to play, that would be the one to go for. But yeah, Drippery Falls. Drippery Falls is the first Opeth song that I ever heard. Came with the Devil's Music Volume 3, which was a Kerrang cover mount CD that I remember, if I'm not mistaken, was it Volume 3 or Volume 4, had the model from the Akarkaka Leviathan video. Valeria Dragova was on the front cover of that CD. Was it Volume 3 or Volume 4? I don't know, but anyway, the Drapery Falls was on that. I think it was truncated. I think the song was cut in half. But like, there's a bunch of bands, were on that CD that I went on to get into. Fear Factory was probably the first time maybe I heard Fear Factory after the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, which I'd had for years. One Man Army by Sepultura was on there. Blessings Upon the Throne of Tyranny by Dimmu Borgir. It was really, really good compilation for the fledgling metal fan. But anyway, Opeth, beautiful light show, brilliant sound, maybe too much punch in the kick drums at one stage, like I could actually feel it in my chest. I was sitting four rows from the front, which I had no memory. I didn't even check my tickets after I bought them. I didn't realise I was going to be so close, so I was sitting from here to there. Obviously there's no way to gauge the passage of distance, so this is pointless. I was sitting very, very close to Martin Mendez, who again I couldn't take my eyes off for most of the show. Also, he was directly between me and Walt, the drummer, so I couldn't see much of what Walt was doing. But I adore Mendez. He's my favourite player in Opeth. And I'm not really a take my phone out at concerts kind of guy, but I did take 2 photographs. I'll show you the first of those now, because it looks like this. And that was the photograph that I accidentally took while I was trying to take this photograph, which looks like this. And that's it. I mean, you may have noticed in the videos that my Instagram handle is the False Face Photography, is because the False Face started out life as a photography journal. And I guess I will call myself a photographer if I am also a no, I'm not a videographer or YouTuber. I don't want to call myself that either, but whatever the fuck this is, I'm also a photographer. And I took those photographs because I had no intention of doing it, and then I saw that red shot and I thought, I want to capture that. So that's what it looks like. So you check out my photography. It hasn't been updated in quite a while, but it is there. So that is the concert review dealt with. Let's get the promo VTs rolled, and then I'll see you afterwards to talk a little bit about what the album of the week is, and finish this introduction, and we can get on to the chat with Aid. As always, friends, the False Face is presented in association with Mental Health for Metalheads, which looks like this. Beautiful hand-painted cover art by Ed Repke. The link to buy the book is in the description below. You'll also get interior art from John Cowan, aka 1024, and most recently of Murrow. And the book has over 666 things that you can practice to try and improve your mental well-being, and it comes thoroughly and forcefully endorsed. Grab it. The show is also proudly presented in association with Barker's Blastfest, an all-day death metal extravaganza taking place in October in Manchester to raise money for Nick Barker's GoFundMe campaign. More details about Blastfest are available if you follow the links that you can see on screen. I've just one last bit of promo that I want to share with you. Founding Cradle of Filth guitarist Paul Ryan is taking part in the annual Heavy Metal Truants fundraiser cycle, which this year is running the 3-day ride from London to Bloodstock in Derbyshire. The Truants Foundation was established by Alexander Milas and Rod Smallwood in 2013 and has raised over £1.5 million for the Teenage Cancer Trust, Nordoff and Robbins Music Therapy, Childline and Save the Children. Paul's donation page is linked in the video description, and keep your eyes peeled in the near future for a chat with Mr. Ryan himself here in the False Face. Donate a couple of quid, or look, if you've spent as much time as I have watching Iron Maiden documentaries, you know one thing for certain: you don't want Rod Smallwood in your case. A couple of quid, couple of £100, whatever you can. Keep Rod sweet. It's all for a good cause. And look, if you're in the London area and you're heading up to Bloodstock in a couple of weeks, why not join up with the Truants yourself? Welcome back. I really wish I had something to drink. Maybe I could drink these seeds. Seeds. Before I move on to the album of the week, I wanted to show you something that I learned. So, see this chair? This is what I record the False Face sitting in most of the time, right? And most of the time I'm sitting like leaning like this, and I've realised that it's actually developed, I think, like a little bit of a knot in my shoulder, which sucks. But I realised that the chair spins. It's like a spinning chair. So like if you wanted to address someone that was sitting over there, look, you don't have to stand up to do it. And I realised I can get it to go all the way to 180 degrees. The problem is that I haven't figured out how to get back yet. I might have to edit this out. Okay, I'm back. CD of the week. The CD of the week this week, the album of the week, but it is literally the CD of the week, is this copy of Obsolete by Fear Factory, which, as you can see, is broken. And what happened was I tried to get the CD out of the disc tray, and instead of putting my finger or my thumb or whatever it was on the niblet in the middle here, put it on the disc itself and tried to take it out, and it just snapped in two. Now, I'm filming this by the window because natural light is the best light, and our Lord's light. And I don't know if you can see that residue there. That's fucking glue. I thought if I tried to glue that part of the disc to that part of the disc back together, that the CD would still work, and it doesn't work. So that was a shame to lose that copy of Obsolete. That's the full version of Dave McKean's artwork for the album, which I absolutely adore. Digipack also has the bonus tracks there. We've got the cover of Cars, one of I think 3 mixes of that, but it's the best mix of it. There's a 00 Where Evil Dwells, which is absolutely terrifying. I think it might be the scariest song ever. The song makes me feel really, really uncomfortable. There's also Concreto, nothing like dropping things off camera in your professional introduction. Concreto, which is a re-recording of a song from their first album that was shelved, that Ross Robinson did, that was recorded during the demanufacture sessions and then finally ended up on this. and they've also got Messiah, which is the title track of the demo. The title track of the music that they did for the game Messiah. That was really, really badly phrased. Soul Wound is another one as well. I'm not sure if Soul Wound was on the Messiah soundtrack or not. But anyway, how I dealt with breaking my copy of Obsolete was to just buy another copy of the Digipack, which takes us up to 2. And then over the years, I just started to amass other copies of Obsolete because I loved it so much. And as it happened, and once I started to notice that I had multiple copies of multiple albums, I started to think, which is the first one that I'm going to get 4 copies of? And Obsolete actually became the first one that I got to 4 copies of. Third one that I picked up was the vinyl issue, which was Music on Vinyl, which came out a couple of years ago. This is the first press of that, which is gold, the colour of money. And then the next thing that I wanted to get was this. This is from the original short-lived shit brown slipcases series of Roadrunner limited editions. So it's original copy of the CD. And then you've got the classic Kerrang style high contrast green or blue lighting. Sepultura is Against, which came out in 1998, also got a shit brown slipcase reissue. So that took me up to 4, but then I thought, well, 2 of them are the same edition, and I thought, well, 4 copies is nice, but 4 editions would be even nicer. So I tracked down this promo copy as well, which is completely different artwork, and I don't know if that barcode would actually scan, but you can see there, not final version, for promotional use only. The mix on this isn't final, so it doesn't have Pat Hoad's spoken introduction at the start of Edge Crusher. I think it just starts with which is the class. If you like Fear Factory, and particularly if you like this lineup of Fear Factory, some of the gentlemen sitting on that couch will be joining me hopefully at some stage of this year on the show. I've got engagement, I just don't have dates. And I know I've said in quite a few of the promotional posts on social media and stuff, like, stick around for appearances from Fear Factory guys, and it just hasn't materialized. It is my hope that it will materialize, but I don't want to say names unless in case it doesn't happen, and that would be awful. Listen, I think I covered everything. Yeah, my porridge looks cool now. The steam has stopped coming off, which is my metric by which it is time to eat the oats. So I just wanted to say the usual. If you like the video, tell YouTube you like it by giving them one of these. Subscribe and you'll get more conversations from collaborators and bandmates of Adrian Jackson. Rick Maya's in the archives. Rick will be back again. Arnstein Thorpe coming up next week. We've got chats with drummers, composers, all kinds. So yeah, take a look at the False Face archives. See if there's anything that you like, and hang around, because it's a stone cold gas to have you. Let's have a chat in the comments, and I'm just gonna have to say it again: like, subscribe, love yous. Here's Adrian Jackson, and I'll see you next week. Hey
mate, how you doing?
I'm really good. How did you get in here already? I didn't know that was possible.
I just tried to join it, I suppose.
And it's
Didn't
happened.
ask me for anything, didn't say no one was starting it, so I guess it was just an open meeting until then.
Ah, nice one. Oh, jeez, I hope I haven't kept you. Have you been waiting long?
No, it's only about 30 seconds, man.
Nice one. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Are you well?
I'm very well, thank you, yes.
That's...
I've been up about 20 minutes, because it was a bit of a late one last night.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of buzz about you on the internet at the minute, you know what I mean? Not just you, but yeah, it was an interesting night for announcements. That was last night, wasn't
it? Last night, I think, was Wacken.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we announced the band about a week or so ago, didn't we?
It's cool as shit. Listen, how have you been?
Good, yes. In the grand scheme of things, I've been out of the band for about 18 years.
Yes.
So we've just kind of had a misadventure in America, and then sort of came back. I've continued in the IT job and just carried on with life, really. Kept kind of casual friends with a few of the people in old MDB, and then this kind of kicked off after the drama of Aaron getting sacked, and then I was like, yeah, why not take the chances? Life's a bit too short, isn't it?
100%. I've known about this for quite some time. I just stumbled across it by accident, and I'll give you the really short version of that story, which is I decided that I wanted to start talking to people on the internet a couple of months ago because it was just a really shit winter, and I suppose I was circling depression, and I thought I want to put something positive onto the internet, and I'm going to try and do this. Hang on a second. Every time I try and do this, I fuck it up, but for once, I'm going to. So just above me there is Nick Barker from Cradle of Filth, right? So that poster,
nice, okay.
He's always up there, and I just thought, I'm going to ask Nick if he wants to have a chat, and we'll talk about some stuff that maybe he doesn't get asked about, in a lot of podcasts. And woke up the next morning and I had a reply from him, and he was like, yeah, let's make it happen. And I'm like, oh shit, so now I need to figure out how to do that. I need to get a camera and a microphone and all that shit. And the second person I ended up trying to find was Rick, your old compadre, because of what he meant to me on those albums, and also because, like yourself, he kind of vanished from the scene for quite some time. So I ended up finding Rick, and shortly after Rick and me started talking, through trying to do the mutual friends thing on, it must have been Instagram, I found this page called Towards the Sinister, and it had, I think, 4 followers at that stage. So one of them was me, and Calvin was one of them, and Rick was one of them, and I think at that stage it was Mark, and I was like, that's a familiar name. So I asked him what the crack was, and at this stage we hadn't even recorded our interview. We hadn't met, essentially, and I was like, listen, between the two of us, is this what I think it is? And he was like, yes, it is. And I was like, okay. And then your name comes into the picture a couple of months later. So yeah, I suppose at this stage it's over to you. How did you get involved with Towards the Sinister? And tell us the crack.
Well, I've met Rick a couple of times, and Aaron a couple of times. Haven't seen Calvin since I left. I've seen Andy 2 or 3 times or something in all the sort of 18 years. So I messaged Rick occasionally and stuff like that. I think we met down in London to go see Dead Can Dance, and then he came to a festival up in Leeds or something. We sort of bumped into each other again there and just kind of hung out. Really good to see him, because like you say, he kind of just disappeared. Moved down south, so it was nice to catch up. And then I saw the picture of Calvin, Aaron, Rick, and Martin in the pub, and so I was like, all right. So Aaron's been unceremoniously kicked out, and all of a sudden, all the old people are back together. So there was kind of a bit of a spider sense in the back of my head. And I was like, all right, there's something happening there.
Yeah.
And then a few months after that, well, a good few months, Rick sort of sent me a message. What is it now? 6 weeks, a couple of months ago. I forget when this all started.
Yeah.
But he's like, how are you doing? And immediately I was like, oh, these are leading questions. Yeah. Do you still play bass? What do you miss about it? Do you fancy being in a band and stuff like that? And I was like, I know where this is going. So I played along a little bit with that, and ultimately it was a case of, right, well, we're putting together some of the old members, and would you like to play bass again? So in a weird repeat of history, it was a bit like when I first joined the band in 1991, because they'd never had a bass player, and so it's kind of everything kind of happened and got set up, and then they kind of invited me in, and it's just happened again with it. They sort of queued it all up and sort of invited me in. And so the idea is, you probably know, is to do stuff on the first 4 albums, first 3 EPs. Aaron is still doing stuff with High Parasite, right. And Calvin is still doing Many Suffer. So they've all got those sort of things on too. But it was just just fancy getting together, to be honest. And it was really good, kind of stepping back into where I left. Really, really did miss hanging around with my mates, because they kind of drawn a line under it when I came back from the US. I was like, I've made a stupid decision. Everything's a bit of a mess, but need to deal with that. And so like, that's kind of music. But I kept my hand in, because I liked playing. And then this kind of just came out of the blue. Really, it was really good.
Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better, to be honest with you, because like similarly with regards to you, I was like, where did that cat go? And I remember hearing around about the time, I think there might have been a little bit of scuttlebutt on the My Dang Bride forums that you had moved to America, and was the phrase that you used there, was it misadventure? But like, we make mistakes, we try things out and everything. But similarly as to with Rick, I always wondered, what happened to you, because you're so pivotal on those albums as well, and you stuck around for quite a lot longer than Rick as well. You played up to Line of Deathless Kings, didn't you?
Yes, I think I left the band beginning of 2007.
2007. Okay, so you would have toured that record a little bit as well then.
Yeah, I think the last gig I did was the one in Istanbul.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And So similarly, like Rick texted me and he was like, guess who I was talking to? And before I didn't have to guess. I was just like, you were talking to Adrian, weren't you? You know what I mean? So it's an awful lot of pieces coming back into place that an awful lot of people wanted to see. And I keep seeing the word nostalgia used online, and I don't think it's nostalgia at all. I think it's more than that. It's pivotal. I used the word when I was talking to Rick before about singular musicians. That Calvin's playing is very recognizable, and your playing is very recognizable. Rick's playing is very recognizable. These are. This is important to an awful lot of people, and I honestly hope not to make you, I hope not to embarrass you by saying that, but like, yeah, it's a big deal for an awful lot of people. So you've kind of gone from being out of the music scene entirely to announced to be playing the Wacken Festival in the space of like less than 2 months.
Yeah, it's
something
kind
like
of
that.
quite the return, isn't it? Just kind of took 18 years to learn how to play bass and then sort of popped back in.
Yeah, that's cool. So you say you were still kind of like you said, keep your hand in then over the past good few years. I mean, you weren't playing in any bands, or were you writing anything like that?
No, it was really just scratching the itch occasionally.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of bass, and I bought myself a kind of a Les Paul copy by Hagstrom,
Mm-hmm.
and just mad stuff like I wonder how to play Bark at the Moon.
Yeah.
So just sort of figure some of those out, subscribe to a few tab sites, and just had a go because really really do enjoy playing. But like I say, I had mentally drawn a line under sort of being in a band and doing that sort of again. Didn't fancy kind of starting up with anyone else because it was kind of like, where do you go when you've been in sort of doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So without being conceited or thinking too much of myself, I was like, I'll just knock about at home and sort of play some stuff, and it's turned out for the best, really.
Nice one. Do you still play guitar?
Just a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
say, there's quite a lot of difference, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But with my bass, it's quite guitar style anyway. So there's a few chords involved there, and sort of the picking and stuff like that. A bit like Lemmy, he used to play a bit like a guitar, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just kind of just picking it up and having a noodle about. I've just got a little amp plug. Don't even have an amp, so you just sort of plug this thing in there. It makes a good distorted noise, and you have to put some headphones on and knock about and play some tunes and have a good time with that.
Sometimes you just have to do it on your own, don't you? I mean, those things behind me there. I only started making music with a friend of mine, like a long-term friend of mine. I think about 2 or 3 years ago, but I have never done anything with anyone. I was always content to just hit them and
Yeah.
try and learn the parts from songs and stuff like that. So, I mean, what's your approach now then in terms of, do you have to relearn those songs, or is it all still there? I remember Nick Barker saying in an interview one time that when you haven't played something in a long time, stamina is the main thing. The muscle memory still remains for him, at least in terms of
Yeah.
drums, but stamina is what needs to come back. How's it been for you?
Let me try and see if this works.
Okay, that was awesome.
Oh, it's not quite worked. So at the moment, when I got the ask from Rick and the rest of the lads,
Yeah,
I went out and bought some bass gear.
yeah,
I've got a couple of. I mean, it's impossible to use in my house because it'll just destroy the neighbours, won't it? But
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
picked all that sort of stuff up, and technology's moved on an awful lot. I think Cal is looking into using quad cortex and stuff like that. So
Okay,
the amp effects emulators,
all right, yeah,
rather than actually having sort of stacks and stuff like that. But I'm really old fashioned. I just like having big speakers and a big amp and making a noise. I think Mark Deek is on about having in-ear monitors for himself.
okay,
So loads of people just hardly have any kit anymore. They have in-ear monitors, and everything comes through sort of the stage monitors, and then they just have like one pedal with all the emulated stuff on, sort of going on and doing that. So that's been really interesting to kind of catch up. But I've compromised and bought a Hartke head, which is kind of like a Class D amplifier in, so it's really light. It's only about sort of A4 size.
yeah.
And so that should go in a backpack or go in a flight case or something whenever we go flying somewhere, or it'll definitely fit in a case if we're on a bus and stuff like that. So kind of, I do fancy having speakers and amps and sort of picking it all up. It's a bit old school,
Yeah.
but it's got the right connections for a desk at a gig, and it's also going to be big enough to make a loud noise on stage. So I'm going to stick with that.
Nice one. You used to make guitars or basses, or did you make one? Or have I picked that
I
wrong?
went to college for 2 years to learn how to make them
Oh
back
yeah, okay.
in the late '80s, I think that was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've the one I used on Symphonary P. That was the one that I made.
Yeah.
And after that, I put it on HP, but I bought the Warwick that I had. So I think I was paying off that for 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, back in the day, that Warwick was 1,100 quid, which is a huge amount of money when you're, sort of 21.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to buy one now, they're 3.5 grand or something, 3 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the price of sort of decent basses has completely skyrocketed. So I've got a couple of second-hand Ibanez SR, which are still very good, but I do miss the Warwick.
Do you find
And,
yourself? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. You mentioned kind of getting back into it with a sort of muscle memory, and it was surprisingly how easy it came back.
Yeah.
You get the whole bass player arms again because you're sort of playing some sort of fast music, and it's not the easiest instrument to sort of play at any velocity as a bass because the fat strings and all that. But yeah, it's just kind of come straight back. The ends of my fingers are all numb again like they used to be, so you get all the calluses on there, and it's just like really, some things just came straight back out of my head. I've got a little Chromebook on top of there. Unfortunately, the amp's got like an auxiliary in and a headphone out, so I put some headphones on, just play along with the original songs, and some stuff was just still in my head somehow. I have no idea how that happened, but all that time ago and played it that many times, it's just like, oh yeah, I remember how to play that, and it just kind of snuck back in.
It's amazing. It just stays in there.
Yeah, it's really strange. The amount of stuff I forget, and then playing a song from 25 years ago, like, oh yeah, that's fine.
I suppose part of it comes back to like writing those parts as well. I mean, it's just such a because with me, anything that I'm trying to play generally is stuff that I've listened to a lot, and then sometimes I sit down and try to play it and it works. But you've obviously got the connection of conceiving of something and then sitting down and it coming out. You always played four strings, Ian?
Yes, yeah, I've got a 5 string. That was one that I made, but we tuned down to C sharp anyway. So there's no need to have an extra bottom string because it just starts getting all sort of messy and woolly and fuzzy after that. Plus, I try to keep the bass playing simple because it's not the sort of music where you sort of twiddle away on the bass and do all sorts of mad stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of as little as possible, as low as possible. Usually, sort of just back everything up, try and sit with the drums a bit, keep the rhythm going, and not interfere with the sort of guitar harmonies and stuff that the single note stuff that we do.
Cool. Well, listen, you happy enough to go back to the start and tell the tale from your perspective about how you got involved with MDB and work our way up more or less to the present day?
Yeah, if you like. Weirdly, I think they played at the school in my town where I grew up, a place called Otley, just outside of Leeds.
Okay.
And they somehow got a gig at the school, and I ended up being there as a metal fan, and that was kind of the first time I came across MDB, I think. They were just a 5-piece at the time, sort of 4-piece. So no bass, no violin, no keyboards. And I ended up doing lights. So I sat at the back of the school hall doing lights and stuff. Then I met a friend on the bus on the way back from Leeds, and she gave me a copy of the demo and said, this is Towards the Sinister, somewhat ironically, and mentioned they're looking for a bass player. And so I thought, well, I've just made a bass. And I can play guitar because I've been playing guitar since I was about 16. So it's not a difficult transition. So I think I learned Symphonaire and maybe a bit of Vast Choirs and sort of contacted the lads, old school as it was back then, either by, Chinese whispers or having someone's phone number and having to give them a ring. And it was a case of, come along and have a bit of an audition. So put my stuff, had just like a little combo bass amp. Went across to the village hall thing where MDB used to rehearse at the time. And it was just sort of set up, and we pretty much got through Symphonaire. I'd pretty much listened to that correctly. Because listening stuff on tape and trying to learn it, especially when the recording quality is a bit woolly anyway, you have to sort of rewind it, stop and rewind it. It's proper old school, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit like doing it on records, you keep having to move the needle around trying to figure out what you're trying to learn. So I pretty much got that sorted, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So that was like, right, you're good enough. And so that was June 1991.
So they've been about for a year at that stage, I think they formed
Yes,
in June.
they've done Towards the Sinister, done the God Is Alone 7-inch.
Yes.
Unlistenable. So that was that. And I think they'd already been signed to Peaceful. So continuing on from there was recording the Symphonaire EP. We had various little sort of practice rooms, rehearsal spaces around Bradford mainly, but we did have spin-offs. Occasionally we'd have to go somewhere else because the room was booked, because we couldn't afford to have all of our kit and the room and keep it full time and just sort of leave it in there. That sort of happened later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was about the start of it. To be honest, got a tape on a bus, learnt the song, went to a rehearsal.
I suppose by the time then that you first got recording with the guys, everything was written because Symphonaire was on the demo and then re-recorded the 7-inch for the Symphonaire B-side, I think. No, the Symphonaire B-side was second half of Symphonaire, but on the CD, it was the re-recorded tracks. It was God Is Alone and The Sad
Yes.
Soliloquy, yeah.
Yeah.
So first chance that you would have had to, I suppose, contribute anything would have been As the Flower Withers then?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I put my bass parts in there, but there was I think was it Andy or Calvin played bass? Probably Andy, I think, played bass on the demo and the 7 inches,
Yeah.
and then I sort of contributed to kind of the recording of that. But with regards to sort of writing and rehearsal, that was be As the Flower Withers and writing all that sort of stuff.
And how'd you find recording for the first time then?
It was pretty exciting to be honest because it was a decent setup at Academy,
Hmm.
but again because of the time it was all proper old school, so it's like 2 inch tape and massive tape drives and a whole enormous mixing desk for things, and then a few little sort of MIDI ins and outs and stuff like that. So it was a very very interesting experience trying to see how it all sort of tied itself together. And it
Yeah.
was in a double terrace house. Don't know if you've ever seen pictures of Academy. So you kind of went in on the left hand side of the house, and you went upstairs, and you went sort of through a little kitchen area. Then there was the mixing room, and then you went sort of downstairs on the other side of the house, and what should be the living room on the other side was actually the recording room.
Okay, yeah.
So you had to, they had the drum kit set up in there, and there's a little camera to look in and stuff like that. So if you wanted to do some recording, then you kind of sat in that room and sort of did your stuff. Especially with amps and stuff, that kept everything separate from the mixing desk and stuff like that. So that was a really good fun. But if you made a mistake, it was kind of there was always a bit of a weird drop in moment. You either did the whole thing again,
Hmm.
or you had to kind of get the tape up to speed, and then someone would kind of press record when you were going to like get dropped in to fix what you've made a mess of.
Yeah.
And it was all kind of odd because you could hear it because tape takes time to start. So there's always a bit of a smear at the beginning of it. You can fix all that, much later on with stuff like Pro Tools where it's digital, and I think Max just used to literally just draw it in with a pen tool.
Yeah.
So if there's a difference in the frequency, just make it that, it's fine. And then you just couldn't tell. It was magic.
How'd you find working
But
with Keith Appleton?
Keith was great.
Yeah.
I mean, we were kids, and so I was probably, up my own arse and a bit full of myself because in a band and doing some recording. But he's been in it donkey's years, super, super talented. I'm pretty sure he's a polymath because he uh, lathes his own steam trains and steam engines.
Hmm.
He flies model aeroplanes, and he's got so many talents, and he's absolutely bang on the money all the time. When he moved house and moved academy to somewhere else in Dewsbury, he built a little train track around his house. So there's like this little set of, don't know what it is, 12-inch gauge or something deaf like that,
Yeah.
and a little steam train, and occasionally used to sort of pot around his garden on the steam train and stuff. And he built his own recording studio, so the second academy, and the floor was balanced on Land Rover engine mounts
Okay.
for to stop vibration and stuff like that. So he had all these mad ideas. He's a proper engineer. He's really good fun to work with.
I don't think they make dudes like that anymore. I certainly haven't met any, and I can't imagine anyone else coming up that just, people that have those really like tactile interests and that
Yeah,
can make things, but also that the creativity could then extend to, writing and composing, playing a keyboard piece on a Cradle of Filth record. You know what I mean? Like it's
yep,
just,
yep.
yeah,
It's the hard skills, isn't it? It's the people that have done it and have the interest and are prepared to stick with it and look for the right way and the sort of the perfect way to do something rather than just doing a kind of a slapdash attempt at it.
yeah.
So he was incredibly talented, this Keith.
You were the first bass player I've talked to in this channel, Ed, and I've always wondered about, I suppose this would, I don't ask you to speak for all bass players, but in terms of creating parts, like would Andy and Calvin have said to you, goes like this, or would you be given free rein to kind of come up with something, or how do you approach a song that's created guitar wise?
Um, well, there's the thing people don't see about band is probably the same they don't see about Hollywood or TV, and that there's an awful lot of hanging around and just doing stuff.
Yeah,
So we'd rehearse 2 times a week for months and months and months, and then you'd record it, and it might take 2, 3, 4 months to record, and then you'd have to mix it, which is probably another few days or a week or so, and then you sort of master it, which is like a full day. We used to get onto Abbey Road to sort of master the record, and so there's a hell of a lot of time where you're just doing the songs.
Yeah.
And to an extent, if you don't sort of take some time away from it, you can get bored to fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've listened to this for like 3 months now. It's kind of it's good. It's like having one CD stuck in your car, and that's the only thing you can listen to. You're like,
Oh, yeah.
oh god. So it takes an awful lot of sort of mental input to keep a focus on what you're trying to do with it. But when we were in the rehearsal studio, it's pretty fast and loose with regards to playing a riff and putting the song together and having stuff. And we used to give the riffs names, so write them down on a piece of paper. And so we all had vague ideas to how the song would go. We used to record it on like an old tape recorder with some really crappy sort of Y-shaped stereo mic that was just sat in the middle of the floor, so we could try and have a vague idea as to what we played the last time. But for myself, I tend to follow the guitars a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's some places you can do if you want to do an octave up or sort of change it and stuff like that. Like I said, I don't really do lots of twiddly stuff, so I'm not after doing a bass solo in the middle of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like Cry of Mankind. I remember that very specifically because people really liked that song. And also the writing of it was extremely interesting because it used to go on for like 15, 20 minutes. It was just kind of Calvin played his tapping guitar bit and everyone else used to knock about, and there was just a whole load of stuff. And obviously I came up with this sort of, the strummy bass bit and stuff like that at the beginning. And that was really interesting because we had to sort of pare that down and make that a song from just being like we could play this forever. A bit like Sleep doing Dope Smoker. They just went in and just played something for 45 minutes, didn't they? So, right, that's fine. Let's record that. It's like, no, we have to try and do something with this. So that was a bit of a different way of doing things. And stuff like, I think it's Kiss to Remember. I start that with kind of a bit of a bass intro. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it just seems to be the thing to do because it gives a bit of variety to the songs. And so as a group of people in the studio, if I'm sort of playing that, just to rehearse it, something that everyone else comes in and something in the back of your head goes, oh, that sort of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's quite an organic process to actually just get on there and sort of get joined in. Like I say, I try not to intrude.
Yeah.
But I still need to kind of hold the back end up. You can't with some of the the fast scratchy stuff like the second half of Symphonaire and stuff like that. You have to rein yourself in because the bass will just get woolly and messy and it'll sound absolutely awful. So you kind of maybe half speed that, but sort of still keep some energy and some momentum in there. But it's kind of follow the guitars mainly, have a bit of a sort of an octave or a bit of a higher end bit or something, and the odd things like Cry of Mankind and stuff like that was kind of a bit more sort of bass forward.
I always like that. There's a couple of songs that start with you on an intro. Gather Me Up Forever is another one. There's a few on 34.788 as well. And I think anytime like a band has that many instances of a song starting with bass, it suggests that bass is important within the band. And particularly in metal, there's an awful lot of cases where that's not true. Where bass is an afterthought, which is it's just completely following the guitar. And yeah, it was a very important part of the original MDB sound. Even if you take the Cry of Mankind, I think Calvin's tapping and your strumming is the only constant in that song. Like even you say about paring it down from 20 minutes, it's still like 13 minutes long or something like that. But you're strumming just the din 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 right the way through to the end, if I'm not mistaken. Plus, as Calvin's thing sort of fades in and out of being audible, but it's always there. It never goes.
Yeah, it's an interesting song to play and to write to because it's kind of an even beat all the way through. There's not many tempo changes in it.
Yeah.
There's tonal changes. So it goes into different keys, but it doesn't really sort of speed up or slow down. It's kind of Calvin sets a pace, everyone else comes in on that, and then it's all sort of the boom, 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 all the way through, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a very, very interesting song. I asked Rick this question, so I've got his answer to compare yours to, but with
oh no,
when Turn Loose the Swans comes along, did you have any sense of the what's the best way to put it? The value of that record, the weight of that record, the importance, just the what that record has come to mean to people, and will probably forever be associated with the group in terms of like the defining statement. At the time, did you get a sense for anything like that? When you were recording Turn Loose the Swans?
No, it's an interesting question. And it's I've got a very good friend who lives in Dublin called Ed Summers. Mm-hmm. Really big fan of metal in general. He's got absolutely shed loads of T-shirts and LPs and stuff like that. He has to keep it on the storage room because there just isn't room in his house.
Okay.
Knows loads of stuff inside out. And I've been able to see him loads of times and hang out. And it's interesting when he talks about MDB and stuff, because I get other people's opinions. Like you've given me one here to think about, because we just did that. We weren't like, this is epic, it's going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Because as a band, we didn't really have much of an ego. We weren't like sort of out there being rock stars or anything. We're just some idiots from Yorkshire who got a break and was enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to have kind of the freedom that we did, because Peaceful were fairly sort of open-minded and egalitarian about to just write some stuff. I think the only time we got some feedback for the record company was doing As the Flower Withers, and a brush of it got sent down to London to MFN or something, and then we got some feedback saying, can you shorten this or take this solo out or something? We're just like, nah, fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
We're writing that, not taking the notice from a suit down in London. But yeah, it's a very difficult thing to quantify from being in the band to having people that sort of like your music.
Yeah.
Because we've always really appreciated sort of fans where we sort of hang out, front of stage, chat to people, anyone, do any interviews, all that sort of stuff. Because without people that like your music, you're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to be friendly and nice to people and appreciate them, because it's very little skin off our nose, isn't it? Just to sit there and have a chat or say hello or take a photo or answer an email or all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we never had an idea of where that was going to go and how big that would actually end up being.
Do you accept the statement now that you've played on one of the classic albums?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's somewhat embarrassingly. It's I don't want to big myself up or anything, but it has had a huge impact on kind of the music scene and the band itself and stuff like that. And so I think that it was sort of pretty important in and of itself. But it's just awkward to accept that and say that yourself, isn't it? Without sounding big-headed.
No, again, I shouldn't have asked, but I just
no, ask away, man. It's good to talk, isn't it?
And I've got so used to I've started to get used to talking to people that I admire in this way, to the extent now that I have to remind myself sometimes, not to slip into that. This guy played on Turn Loose the Swans. Do you know what I mean? It's just a dude at the other end of a computer screen, but at the same time, the Snow in My Hand is on there. It's just. Yeah.
No, ask any questions you fancy, man. That's what we're here for, isn't it?
If I could think of any more that's really ridiculously nerdy stuff. What was your facile question? This maybe. What was your favorite My Dying Bride record, Ed? Whether that's to listen to or your experience of making it at the time or looking back, whatever way you want to frame that.
I think they're all good to make. I mean, I've already griped about it, saying it takes ages and you have to go in there and listen to it forever and ever and ever. But it's always an exciting experience.
Yeah.
And things always change or get tweaked a little bit in the studio, and so you get some little changes. And then when you finally end up with a product, even if it's sort of unmixed and it's kind of a bit rough and ready, because I've still got a few CDs upstairs.
Yeah.
All kind of unmixed and unfinished versions. We sort of take those home and you sort of have a listen and you sort of get a few ideas, and it's always dead exciting. You think, I've done something on that. That's me. And then from a favorite album point of view, I don't know if there's a specific favorite one, but there's a good few songs. I like Gods is a great album. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
And the song the Light at the End of the World is another one that I like doing.
Yeah.
As well as Vast Choirs, that's one of my favourites. I'm going to try and crowbar that into a set at some point if the lads will have it. So I think that's
I'll back you up on that. Yeah, I think I've got Rick's ear, so yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I think that's a great song to play. And it's also very early doors is Vast Choirs.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different style to sort of what happened. It's probably more death metal than doom metal if you want to start putting labels on things.
Yeah, which I don't. I hate all of that stuff, but I agree with you. Yeah, it does. There's DNA in that song that gets dropped from the MDB sort of makeup very quickly. Like Rick's blasting on that song, and I don't think he does that on many tunes.
No. It was just that's kind of the genesis of the band, isn't it? Because Calvin and Andy had very different writing styles.
Mm-hmm.
So Calvin was a lot sort of quicker and a bit sort of death metal, whereas Andy was a bit slower and a bit more sort of doom, and they kind of merged really well, and then it evolved into whatever was going on, and I
Yeah.
sort of filled in some of the gaps with the bass and the tempo of sort of playing things there, because even if the riff doesn't speed up as the bass player, you can start double picking the timing if Rick's doing double bass or something, and you can sort of fully back that up with a nice bottom end. So it's a good end to a song if he's sort of hammering away and having a go at that.
Yeah. You mentioned Like Gods there. Like God, there's something special about that album, and I've never been able to figure out what it was. But I remember Aaron said years ago, he used to say that was his favorite MDB record, and sometimes he would say Dreadful Hours. He would waver between the two, but Like Gods was the first one that I think heard that it's quite accessible. Do you know what I mean? It's easier for the young metal fan. I'll paint you the picture. I'm 13, 14 in 2001, 2002. And my friend Barry Connolly, who's always getting a shout out on this podcast, and here is another one, is responsible for an awful lot of the bands that I listen to. He was into Cradle of Filth, and then he started exploring the family tree of who was in Cradle of Filth. So he follows Martin to My Dying Bride.
Okay.
And at some stage I get my hands on, I think Dreadful Hours must have been the first one that I heard. And then I'm in Belfast in the big Virgin Mega stores. It's no longer there. And I get a copy of Turn Loose the Swans. I take it home and I stick it on, and I cannot fathom, like, what the fuck is this? It's so, because the first song has no metal in it, and then the second song starts and it's like another couple of minutes of Calvin doing his thing, and then the rest of you guys come in, but Rick's playing is so unconventional because he's essentially playing like guitar riffs on the drums. It took me so long to come to appreciate that album, but the next one that I bought was Like Gods of the Sun, and I was like, oh, this is just so easy to listen to. It's so well produced, engineered, all of that stuff. The songs are so easy to get on with. It kind of felt like, at the time, looking back, the band was on a certain trajectory there, with the albums were getting, I think, more accessible, and Aaron dropped everything but the clean vocals, and things were just going up, and the Maiden tour happens, and the Dio tour happens, and then, and this is, I'm about to get to the question part of this, which is the longest question I think I've ever asked anybody, and then the band kind of implodes a little bit. Take me back to that time from your perspective, Aid, with Rick and Martin going just before, I suppose, between, like, halfway through with the Dio tour, I think it was in '97, and then before 34.788 came out.
Well, Martin was on the Dio tour.
Yes.
And so was Rick. Oh no, Rick wasn't, was he? Yes, he was. Yeah. It's a long time ago now. But it's always awkward because when you've been together that long and you've been through so much stuff.
Yeah.
And not making this sound like a massive soap opera, but the first tours that we did were in a transit van, and so you'd have all the gear. You put matches on the top. There'd be 3 crew in the front, and then be 6 band members in the back, just laid on top of these mattresses in a van driving around Europe in winter.
I've seen the photos. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we managed to crash 2 of them,
Yeah.
and all sorts of mad stuff like that. So it's and so as a group of people, with the writing, the rehearsing, the recording, the hanging out and having a few beers, and the touring and everything like that, you get pretty close knit.
Yeah.
You've learned to take the piss out of each other. You know what to ignore. Give people space. All that sort of stuff just happens unconsciously. And so when someone leaves, and Rick left after the Dio tour, because I think we got an invite to go back, but because Rick had left, we couldn't go back and do the second half of that. It was kind of a really awkward kind of, what do we do now? Because we don't have a drummer and we don't have Rick.
Yeah.
And so he's Rick as a person and an entity as your friend. He's not going to be turning up at rehearsals.
Yeah.
And never mind the fact that he also plays drums, because they're all right, shit. And then the 34 album was a marked change from anything that had sort of come before. That was kind of almost experimental, people sort of see it as. There's some great songs on there, but people sort of looked at that and sort of took a few steps back and go, what the hell's going on with that? So clearly there was some kind of settling in again with regards to things. So I think Bill Law was drumming on that.
Yeah.
I had Bill Law for just that one album in a short period of time. And then I believe we got Sean Steele's in after that, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a long time for me to remember. So yeah, it's upsetting. It kind of takes the rhythm out of things, but it also does apply some impetus and some change, and things are different. And so it kind of almost jolts you awake a little bit in another sense.
Yeah.
Right, so we have to settle in with a new guy. We've got to get to know them as a person as well, and sort of hang around with them and do all that sort of stuff. And then we've got to get into the rhythm of doing the old songs with someone that plays them differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never spoken about, but you can feel it, as the musician that's kind of in the room. It's not like, oh yeah, there's a different drummer and he's doing it this way, and how do we adjust to that? No one's having that conversation, but everyone's kind of just, we know what to play. We've been playing it for ages, and he's got to kind of settle in, and we've got to sort of find a groove between all of us. And then I believe there was a Yasmin, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, and who did we get on violin after Martin?
You did. There was nobody. Not for a long time, but not immediately. Martin wasn't replaced on violin until I think it was Katie. I think came along.
Yeah, so that was after I left, wasn't
it? Just after. Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so because the violins are a big part of MDB too, because that was one of the things that we were very well known for early doors was having a fiddle player.
Yeah.
And so he was. Don't think he joined the band officially until something like Turn Loose, maybe.
I think
maybe
it was.
He was always kind of a session musician, and then just came on tour.
I think it might have been on Thrash. Came out before Turn Loose, but there's not a big pile of violin on As the Flower Withers, and Keith, if I remember right, did the keys on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I mean, did you ever have the concern that the band was going to end at that time after Rick and Martin left?
There's no concern about it ending, because there's still enough of us in there, and we still wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So there's no like, oh, we don't have Rick, so we have to pack this in.
Yeah.
I mean, MDB is still going, aren't they?
Yeah.
So and there's only Andy left from the original members, and so it's clearly there's an impetus to still sort of play it and enjoy it.
Yeah. You alluded to it there, but I'm going to ask you outright. How do you feel about 34.78? And I'll frame it by saying I like it, but a lot of people didn't like that record for various reasons. Do you think that was just because it was different? Because it's not a bad record at all, but there are a number of sizable changes you alluded to there. Not just A, the lack of violin, B, the drumming is so different on it, C, the artwork, D, heroin chic, E, a bunch of reasons. But how do you feel about that record in 2026?
I haven't listened. I don't listen to my own music, so I haven't actually listened to it for a long time.
Okay.
And as a very quick segue, learning the songs to play with Towards the Sinister.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed, because it's going to sound very egotistical, but we wrote some cracking songs. I'm really enjoying listening to them and playing them, and so I should probably go back and listen to some of my own stuff, because we weren't crap. It was all right.
Fucking right. No, yeah, they were. Yeah, it's really good stuff.
But yeah, 34. I should probably have a listen to it again. I don't have any bad memories out of it. I can't even remember the track list, so I don't know if we played any songs live very much.
There's two, the Whore, the Cook, and the Mother would have been in the live set for quite a bit, as was Under Your Wings and Into My Arms, which is on the first live record. I think.
I'm glad you know what I've done, so I don't really.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one, because like you've said, people judged it, and we never really sort of listened to feedback. We just did MDB.
Yeah. So
we just got together, we wrote some songs, and they turned out how they turned out. I don't know if the lineup changes made it different. Settling into new sort of band members. We're rehearsing near where I used to live in Dewsbury. It was kind of in a cellar, so there was kind of a car garage, and it had lots of vaulted cellars, and so we sort of rented one of those. We just chucked all the gear in there and left it. So that was a different space to be in.
Yeah.
I don't have any negative memories from it. It's almost a bit cyberpunk in the artwork, isn't it?
I love it. Yeah. And there's the photograph of the spider that was crushed under the microscope or whatever. It's really interesting. I missed my CD. I don't have my CD copy anymore, and the vinyl edition has some of the shots are different. But yeah, I like that album. I thought Bill was a cracking drummer as well. But to go from and again, I've bandied Rick's ear about this countless times, but Rick was a very, very unique player, to the extent that he doesn't even seem to have really. He's influenced a lot of drummers like me who loved his playing, but there aren't Rick Maya, kind of imitators out there like you get with Lombardo or Gene Hoglan or players like that. He doesn't seem to have made that kind of mark, which is extraordinary because anybody that you talk to that's aware of his playing, I've never met anybody that says, yeah, the Mighty Young Bright are great, but the drums are, what the fuck's happening there? So to go from that to what Bill was doing, which was much more straightforward and very, very professional, if that's not the right word, but it's a bit more. I think he kind of felt like a session player, if that makes sense. Yeah, that I think that's a big part of the change in sound for me. He's a great drummer, but part of you just misses Rick. Part of you misses the violin, which would have been hard for you guys at the time because of course you would have been aware of that that element of the fan base there that just doesn't want things to change. That has to be hard too.
Yeah, like I said, there's always expectations, and everyone has their favorite songs and their favorite albums and favorite band members and favorite things about it. So you can't keep everybody happy. We always had that problem with set lists, especially when you start getting a few more albums under your belt. And it's because right now, what do we play? Because people are always shouting for this, that, and the other. And you think, well, there's been a few things that have just stayed in there. One is Cry of Mankind. I think once we wrote that and formed it, I don't think we've ever dropped it. And it's always within the set. Everything else is kind of shuffled around a bit. And yeah, 34 was almost polished in a way. It was not necessarily clinical, but it was less rough around the edges because the style and the way we play and the way we got together was never sort of bang on the money. We're not like Dragon Force or anything where the timing is actually spot on and stuff like that. It was always a little bit sloppy, but in kind of a good way, just kind of making it feel human and that people were involved in it and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas 34 was kind of a lot sharper, I think. And then we sort of relaxed a bit after that.
Yeah, because the next album, then Light at the End of the World, it goes back in the other direction, and things get much darker than they had been really since Sexuality of Bereavement, probably, which was before I think The Angel in the Dark River. And Aaron's growling again, but his growling has changed. It has evolved, and the sound of him on that album is extraordinary, and the riffs are heavier, and Sean's playing is heavier. Did you find, that would have been the first album without Calvin. Was there an expectation on your end to kind of step up with regards to songwriting, or did Andy sort of take the lead on that? What was that like?
Songwriting has mainly been Andy and Calvin.
Yeah.
And so I sort of back that up and throw things in every now and then. But I sort of considered my songwriting as, writing the bass parts and sort of filling that in. So not completely disassociated from it, but not sort of fully involved. It was Hamish, I believe.
Yeah.
That came in, and he has his own ideas and his own style. And there were some things that at the time we didn't sort of think that fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was some discussions about writing new stuff, and people would come up with sort of things, or we in the studio and then you record it and listen to it back and go, you know what, that's not really kind of what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So not to disparage Hamish at all. Clearly he's his own person. He's very successful in Valenfire or whatever.
Yes, and Guthrum currently.
Guthrum, yes, sorry. Yeah, but there was a little bit of a dynamic change because obviously Calvin had been in there from the beginning, and again, it's losing a person that you've been friends with and a person that's part of the sound and the writing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice that without Calvin's riffs, the shape of the songs is different because he has a very specific sort of writing style. He's a bit like with many Suffer, he's sort of a lot faster.
Yeah.
A lot more sort of picking and single note riffs and stuff like that. So like the start of Fast Choirs and stuff, for example, that sort of thing is he's just a belter.
Yeah.
So without that, then this style of MDB or this sort of song structures sort of seem to sort of change, become a lot more doom and a lot sort of melancholy, a lot slower. maybe sort of heavier and chuggier rather than sort of having sort of Calvin's staccato picking going.
Yeah, well, Light at the End of the World was the first one whenever Peaceful started reissuing the albums around about 2003 with bonus tracks. There's no bonus tracks on Light at the End of the World because there's no room for them because the CD is full because all the songs are like 9, 10, 11 minutes long, and that's because of how slow they are. But if you take the likes of, like you mentioned, the Light at the End of the World, which probably has maybe one of like the three heaviest sections in a My Dying Bride song, I think, in it, which is like dun 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 dun, that part.
Yeah.
That's crushing. That's really, really good. Eden Beast is beautiful as well. Absolutely love that album. But yeah, it starts to get very slow. Like you say, slowness becomes the thing, and you lose that dynamic as well. The Dreadful Hours was a beautiful album. When it came to re-recording Return of the Beautiful, what was the thinking behind that? If I'm not overthinking it by asking that question, why was the decision made to re-record something from the first full length?
I honestly don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah,
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's wanting to improve on what we've got because I think was it Unreleased Bitterness, that flexi disc that it was on.
Yeah. Hang on a second.
Have it to hand. Ideal.
Just to prove it is indeed flexible. Yeah.
It's not. Excuse me. It's not the best quality.
Yeah.
A bit like the Towards the Sinister demo. It's a bit sort of fuzzy and awful, isn't it? And even
it was the best kind of fuzzy and awful that we had, really.
Even the Symphony EP and As the Flower Withers.
Yeah.
We were young. We didn't have very good kit back then.
Mm-hmm.
I was using a bass that I'd literally made myself and all that sort of stuff. So it technologically and with the kit that we have, it was kind of the best we could do. But you always look at the later albums where the production and the equipment and everything else and the playing and the experience is better.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's a huge difference between that and what we did in the first place. But that's the inevitable march of time and things that are changing and getting better and sticking at it.
Yeah.
But so it was probably just kind of that's a good song, but we didn't do it justice. So let's try and sort of perk that up, have a go at rewriting it a little bit and re-record it and use that.
There are a number of elements on the second version that I prefer. There's a great kind of keyboard choral sort of drone thing that goes on for fucking ages, like for too long, and it's like that's what I like. Sometimes you just have to do something to beyond the point where the listener is sick of it. Listen, you can tell me now, anybody that's watched this show before or follows me on social media or anything can tell I'm a big Rick Maya fanboy. So obviously the drums don't quite compare for me. I think Rick's composition was very, and he didn't really take this point when I made it to him, but his composition his parts in the original track are very written. And there's a couple of very interesting sections where he's doing different fills for each bar and he never repeats himself, but he plays similar things but evolve them a little bit. Sean, I always felt, was more of improvisational drummer. What was it like for you working with a new, rhythm section partner?
Well, Sean and I used to live close together, so we used to give each other lifts to and fro rehearsal because the rehearsal rooms were in Bradford mainly. So I spent a kind of a lot of time with Sean, and people used to come over. We used to go to the local pub and do all that sort of stuff. So he's a great lad.
Yeah.
He is really, really good on drums. Like he can just give him something, he'll start having a go at it. There's nobody else sort of waiting. He just kind of drums naturally, a bit like Rick. The styles are completely different, but it was again a bit like with Bill Law. It was just kind of settling in.
Mm-hmm.
So he's obviously got to learn some of the songs, and so that becomes kind of the introduction. And so he learns the songs that we're going to play for a set. And then after that, you sort of gel together as a group, and thankfully it all worked out, so we didn't need to get another drummer.
Yeah.
And then once you've kind of got a few gigs and a bit of time under your belt, then you kind of settle into the group.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult thing to explain properly because unless you've been in a band or any sort of group activity, like probably playing football or rugby or anything like that, if there's a team involved. And you're in that team long enough and you get to know all your mates and you know sort of the foibles, their ins and outs, and you sort of learn how everyone works and you learn to work together at a kind of unconscious level.
Yeah.
You have to kind of wait for that to kind of settle in. And again, it's never discussed. It's just Sean turned up, played really well, right, you're in. And then it was just a case of rehearsing the songs, and we all kind of got to know each other and how we worked and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it becomes sort of writing some new stuff usually. And so by that time, you've figured out what everyone's about and how the shape of the band is. And then you can sort of sit there and say, right, we've got some new riffs and put them together. And the writing is, everyone has a go at it. So, someone will come in and play a riff on guitar or something. I'll go, right, I can probably do that on bass. And Sean will be like, okay, I can. And then it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has a specific idea, saying, could you maybe put a little drum fill or something in here because that's what I'm hearing in my head. Things happen, ideas get thrown around until it kind of gets agreed and sort of settled. But there's no overall arbiter of. There's no one that said, right, that's wrong, we have to do that. No one was kind of fully in control. It's a very organic, sort of full band experience.
Right the way up until your departure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when with some few lineup changes and all that sort of stuff like that, it was still no one was just in command. It wasn't like so Randy turned up and go, right, we're going to do this today and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's the inevitable bun fight and taking the piss out of each other and all that sort of stuff because it's like, no, fuck off, who do you think you are? And but we all kind of got on with it. It was that friendly, like I say, the analogy of sort of being in a team, and once you've been in that team for long enough, you just mates, aren't you?
Yeah. I think that who starts a sentence and then takes a drink of water and then finishes the sentence, right? That's going out in the edit. Start again. I think that Light at the End of the World and Dread Flowers and Songs of Darkness, Words of Light are very... I hate to use this word because marketers love to use the word trilogy, and they're not a trilogy and they weren't conceived or designed as a trilogy, but those albums complement each other very, very well, and they all occupy a certain sonic space, I think. But there's something about the progression towards Songs of Darkness, which has to be one of the gloomiest records ever recorded, and I think is the peak of that era of My Dying Bride in terms of the pace, the atmosphere, and everybody's performance and what everybody's doing. I think it's kind of it's a later classic album. If you would take that, what do you think about that? Ed, do you think that one's a little bit special too?
Well, again, speaking from someone that's on the inside, it's difficult to quantify sort of other people's experiences and understanding of it. So people will like parts of it, will not like parts of it.
Yeah.
It'll be stuff that they shout out at gigs or not. But I think that typifies a sort of settling of the band again after the lineup changes. So as we've alluded with Calvin leaving and everything getting a bit sort of slower and chuggier, it's sort of part of that sort of settling in because Sean had been in there a long time by then. I think we'd had Yasmin on keyboards. That might have changed for someone else at some point.
It would have been Sarah by that stage.
Yes, there was Sarah, wasn't there?
Oh, and Johnny Maudling from Balsagoth recorded on those. I think he recorded on Light and Dread Flowers.
He came into the studio to do those bits. I think Sarah was live, so she learned the keyboard parts.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, it's a period of stability because we've gone from As the Flower Withers up to sort of Like Gods with Calvin. Then there's kind of a bit of a 34 in the middle where it's like, what the hell are we doing? And then we kind of settled in again once we got sort of Sean and started getting the sort of more relaxed in our relationships with each other.
Yeah.
I say this stuff from my point of view, and it was never consciously or overtly explained or talked about. But it's as someone that was there and in the room, you do settle and you become like the team again.
Yeah.
And so it's like, rather than having someone new and are they doing all right and am I doing all right and is it also fitting and working and having those little sort of nervous doubts, I think there's a period of calm again. And it's interesting you to refer it to as kind of like a second period of MDB.
Yeah.
Just kind of Calvin and then there's kind of Hamish and Sean.
Yeah.
I left and then obviously there's probably a third era after that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. It sounds like the culmination of that that era. It's a very comfortable album. There are a couple of maybe not even songs, but a couple of parts that didn't sit quite well with me on Dread Flowers. But again, that's just the music nerd fan. Whereas and obviously the re-record of the track from the first album is in some way, I don't know what's the best way to put this. This is a guy who overthinks things, right? But it's almost like a bonus track thing rather than like an album that is just its own thing, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I've described it badly, but it's a great track, but it harkens back to something else and it invites the comparison and stuff. Whereas with Songs of Darkness, it's just it's the closest thing to a successor in terms of what I think Turn Loose the Swans did, which said, look at us, pay attention to us because this is what we can do. Do you know what I mean? But then it was the last of that period as well, because Sean's out by the next album for, if I'm not mistaken, he was injured. Was that right? I think Sean had problems with he broke his ankle or he had tendonitis or something like that. So by the time
I believe so, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so by the time Deathless Kings comes out, John Bennett's drumming, but you'll know better than me. Was John ever My Dying Bride's drummer, or was he brought in, for a one shot?
It's a very good question. A bit like Martin initially.
Yeah.
I think he was just. I think John was just drumming. John was great. Young lad, like he's a bit younger than all of us.
Yeah.
So he was absolutely fucking hilarious to hang around. He's just absolutely mad as fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think he was initially session, but that was kind of the period where I left, wasn't it?
Yeah. Would have been that year, I think he had, yeah.
Yes, I don't know how long he stayed on.
I don't even know if he played any gigs with them.
I think he did play some gigs because I was being out with him.
Yeah.
And then they got, is it Dan Mullins now? Dan
and Sean have traded the stool over the years since then.
Right.
So
okay.
Even on recordings, Dan's there and
yeah.
Sean's there. I think Dan's their drummer now. But then on the most recent LP but one, it was Jeff, singer from Paradise Lost, I think, played drums for them. So it can be hard to keep up with the drum stool thing. And David Gray from Akercock played for them for a couple of years too. So yeah,
I don't think we found any continuity. So this isn't out of spite or bitterness or anything, but I haven't paid much attention to kind of MDB since I left. I've heard a few songs and stuff, comments and all that sort of in passing, but I've never actually listened to it. Like I said, there's no bitterness or any weirdness in that. It's just I just haven't.
You find that a lot with people that leave bands though, and even not to put words in your mouth, Ed, but like sometimes it's difficult for people too. Do you know what I mean? It's painful to to see a thing continue on afterwards.
My American thing didn't work out for quite a lot of reasons, but I sort of came back and like I said, I kind of drew a line under it. It's kind of like made a stupid decision, come back, and so that's not coming back. So there was a level of just staying away from it, maybe deliberately, because could have still been doing that. Didn't want to be a bit upset by it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if that's something you want to talk about, Ed, I'm happy to talk to you about it, but I'm not prying either. And if you don't want to, that's cool.
What do you want to know?
Whatever you want to tell me. Honestly, I'm not fishing for anything at all. But like, I'll put it to you this way: anybody who's read the Harvest of Dread book that Greg Moffat put together for one of the MDB anniversaries, there's a side to that story that's presented in the book, and you've commented on it a little bit about how, if I'm not mistaken, that you were interested in rejoining the band once you came back from America, but obviously the position had been filled, and that's understandable. Like I've quit jobs too and tried to get back into them before, it doesn't happen. But on the other hand, I wasn't Adrian Jackson, and the jobs weren't fucking My Dying Bride. So again, if you find there would be any catharsis or anything in talking about that,
I'm happy to chat about it. Like I said, there's no real secrets or anything. The American thing was, I don't know if I'd had enough of MDB, or if I just decided that this was the right girl and this is the right time, and because I was 37 or something, so like let's make a decision and do that, and it all went horrendously wrong. I don't know if you've seen any stories or something, because I kind of described some of the mess that I got in there, and I ended up spending 2 days in prison and being arrested, and all sorts of mad stuff went on there, and I eventually just ejected. I was like, I'm not staying around for this. That's enough. I'll just go back home.
Yeah.
And kind of sort of started again. I didn't get in touch with anyone when I came back. I had friends that were outside of MDB, and I sort of gradually got in touch with them and got myself settled, and got a job and restarted my life and did all that sort of stuff. But then I bumped into someone in Leeds, I think, in town, and he was friends with Andy, and he just said, "Oh, I've just seen Adrian, so he's back." And so Andy got in touch with me, and so he's kind of said hello after that and stuff. So I never asked to be back in the band.
Okay.
So I wasn't like, "Yeah, I'm back now. Can I have my old job?" So that's just rude, isn't it? You don't just sort of leave the band and disappear off and have a bit of a jolly for a bit, and then a couple of years after that say, "Yeah, can I come back in and play bass again?"
Yeah.
Lena was already in there, and she's still playing bass, so that's just rude. And on and off friendship with Andy. He's a complicated person. And so I hardly ever see him. I hardly ever communicate with him. Every now and then, like, we've been to the cinema once to see one of the Star Wars films, and that was the case. So had some food every now and then, that sort of stuff. But it's very, very, very occasional.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just, he found out that I was back, sent me a message. "Hi, how are you?" And so I said hello, but like I say, I never made any sort of steps to get in the bag.
Interesting.
But he did mention maybe doing some stuff once. I said, "I don't even have a bass." At the time, I didn't have one. He said, "Don't worry about that." Nothing ever came of that. That was just, he just kind of said it a couple of times, and nothing ever sort of happened. And so I just did my own thing. Like I say, I've got a couple of bass, have a guitar. So I just kept my hand in a little bit, just playing some stuff because I enjoy it. And when this opportunity for Towards the Sinister came up, I realised how much I missed it.
Yeah.
But what I missed was being with my old friends and being an old MDB.
Yeah.
You mentioned nostalgia, and maybe it's not that, but it's definitely like we used to have a really good time. As young kids, knocking about, doing some gigs. I remember one of the first gigs we played in the Netherlands. We in a van again, and we had sleeping bags and stuff like that. So we just emptied the fridge of all the beer and just sort of tried to sneak it out the venue, because we didn't actually realise that rider was for us anyway.
Yeah.
So we're trying to almost steal the beer that was ours. We're like trying not to make any noise. We're like a sleeping bag full of bottles of Heineken or something. Going, "Thanks, bye, we're off now."
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just like, it's all the daft stories, and all of that stuff was stuff that we all did for the first time, and we all did that together. Being on ferries and buying a bottle of wine from duty free and drinking on the boat, and then launching it into the sea, and it was emptied, and just stupid mad crap, and crashing vans, and just idiotic stuff. It's been really good, and that's kind of what I miss. I miss that kind of camaraderie and the sort of easygoing attitude that we had, because I met up with them all in Halifax 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So there's Aaron, there was Calvin, there was Rick, a few partners and girlfriends. And it was just like old times. It was just super relaxed straight away, despite the fact that I hadn't seen Calvin for 20 odd years. I bumped into Aaron once or twice, maybe at like a Swans gig in Leeds or something.
Yeah.
Seen Rick, like I say, a couple of times. And it was just, and I just sat there in the pub at the end. We had a couple of sofas, and it was just proper banter, talking shit, remembering old stuff, taking the piss out of each other, remembering all the daft nicknames that we had. And it was just like, all right, it's like we've never been away. So there's a really, really good vibe about getting back to it and being with sort of that group of people. And we're trying to keep, all of it positive.
Yes.
So that there's inevitably going to be comparisons. There's going to be, some negative comments, I'm sure, somewhere. But we're not getting involved in that. Not going to get tied up in any trolling or any daft stuff. We just want to do what we do, and we're thoroughly enjoying it, even though we haven't even had a rehearsal yet. We've got a set list that we're doing. I'm rehearsing at home. We've had a chat about gear. We've got all the management in place, promoter and all that sort of stuff. So people are already prompting us to do stuff. You're the first interview I've done, so this is amazing. Technology's moved along, so there's a lot of kind of figuring out what to do, as I've explained earlier, with like effects processes and all that sort of stuff. But the first rehearsal is going to be great. We've got a couple of days out at a rehearsal room, and that'll be the first time that we all get together with Mark and the other people that are going to be in the band. There's a Chris and there's an Emma. They will be announced and on the socials as life happens now in the future. Sort of when time gets together, but it's just even just playing the songs myself, I really enjoyed the songs. And it sounds egotistical because I wrote them and played them and toured them and all that sort of stuff originally. But they're genuinely enjoying it, and that's what I've missed is hanging around in a room with your mates, having a laugh, and making a loud noise.
It's amazing. All of that's really, really beautiful to hear. And like, the positivity aspect's a really good angle, Ed, because you are going to inevitably, just by existing in, as you put it, the future, you are going to attract some negativity, and it already exists. I've got scuppered under the bridge with the troll, but you just have to not look and you do your own thing, and that's what you guys are doing. But I'm so pleased for you guys that you can still have that, and that the camaraderie just exists, and the bitterness, it just melts away when you're there with your friends. And even Martin said the same thing about Rick for the first time he had seen him in 30 years. It was just like nothing had ever, no time had passed. Do you know what I mean? And even when I got on the call with him for the first time, we spoke for 5 hours. I don't know if you've seen that video at all, Ed, but I lost my voice at the end of it from talking to your pal Rick. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just like we spoke for quite a bit about before we started rolling, and then after we stopped rolling as well. But very, very easy to get guy to talk to. But
Yeah, Rick's an absolute gem. I'm really pleased that he's a drummer again. He's almost a little shy and lacks a little bit of confidence.
yeah,
So, but because his girlfriend was saying, yeah, Rick's doing amazing on drums. He's like, oh yeah, but I really need to try harder at this, that stuff like that. And we're like, Rick, you're fucking awesome. Just do your drums, mate, because you're absolutely brilliant. And he's an absolute diamond of a person. And there's been never any sort of bitterness because I didn't leave under any.
no, wait, sorry, I don't mean to say with regards to yourselves, but I just mean it's already out there. There are already the comparisons because there are now two entities that exist that embody the same musical, thing.
I've seen some of those comments, but we've agreed as a band to just keep it positive, so we're not going to get involved in any bun fights. It's a case of if there's a negative comment, you just block it and move on.
100%, and that's kind of why you're here on this channel. This channel exists for positivity on the internet. Do you know what I mean? Because it would be so easy to go, Ed, say something negative about my damn bride so we can make blabbermouth. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want it. I don't want it on here. So if anyone ever offers that stuff up, I'm not going to censor anybody. But I'm certainly not fishing for that kind of
No,
thing.
absolutely not. So we keeping it positive. We're enjoying each other's company. Looking forward to the rehearsal. We've got a very exciting year next year. You've probably seen some of the dates, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think some of them are to be announced. So,
yes,
but there's definitely about 5 festivals or so, and there's a gig in Amsterdam, not in Amsterdam, in Antwerp, at a poetry festival, which is going to be interesting.
Oh, that's the February show, is it?
Yeah. Aaron and
Yes.
Mark and someone else are doing something.
Joe. Yeah, it's Joe Quill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm terrible with names, so
No, you're
I'm
okay.
being rude. And then there's possibility of a gig at the end of this year because we don't want the first performance that we do to be like
Yeah.
an actual gig. So there might be something at the end of this year. We've asked the promoter about it, see if he can arrange something, maybe down in London or something, and we'll just go and do that as kind of a bit of a warm up and do we actually know what we're doing still?
Yeah. That'll be amazing. And it'll be so interesting to see you playing again. And Calvin too. I suppose last time anybody would have seen Calvin, he would have been playing with MDB about 6 or 7 years ago, I think. Because I don't think he did any shows for Many Suffer. That was just the album that he released.
He's still doing Many Suffer, but he left. Don't know the reasons why. Then he came back and was our tour manager for a bit. Then he stopped doing that, and then I left, and then apparently he rejoined MDB for a year or two, I think, and then left again.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be great to see you back at it because Amanda sent me through some footage of Rick, practicing with his, permission, of course, and I couldn't believe my eyes, seeing him play because it's not often that you get a guy, disappear for that long and then come back to the music scene. And I kind of. I spoke to him a lot about that, the Krakow show, that was released on video and DVD with the floor with the light up stage that all you guys played back in the 90s. And that to me, that's the concert video of all time for any band. I love that show so much, and you guys' attitude and the performance and the crowd energy and everything. But so in my head, that's kind of what, even now, having befriended him, that's what Rick looks like in my head still, with the big puff of hair. And yet there he was playing those songs and he's the age that he is now, and he's older, and he's playing this little rehearsal room kit, but he's there and he's playing his parts from his songs, and I couldn't get over it. I was like, 30 years have passed. That's or 30, coming up 29 years. It's crazy. So it's going to be so cool to see you guys back on stage. I'm going to be at the show in Antwerp, so it'll be nice. I can
No, wonderful.
shake your hand and buy
Yeah,
a
'cause
drink
we've
of
never,
whatever.
or I've never played Northern Ireland. We played Dublin a couple of times, but never been to Northern Ireland.
You played Dublin infamously. Was that you get your gear stolen in Dublin? Isn't that right?
Yeah, that was As the Flower Withers, was it? Maybe Turn Loose,
It might have been Turn Loose. Yeah,
because that was with GGFH, if I
yeah,
remember rightly.
that's right.
It was in a little club. I just remember the pub around the corner. I can't remember. And then we went to Fibber McGee's afterwards or something.
Yeah.
And then we played in the centre of Dublin near Temple Bar. There's a venue there that I can't remember. We played there a few years later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, come to Northern Ireland, definitely.
Right. Yeah. It's all in the hands of the promoter now. So if there's a thing, it's kind of up to him to book it. But I think we've got some festivals that obviously we've launched. There's quite a lot of management happening in the background.
Yeah.
So it's very much with no small sense of irony, a bit like a swan, isn't it? It looks all nice and calm and serene, but there's a lot happening underneath.
Yeah.
And so there's a few gigs organised. There's obviously all the promotion, and we need to get merch sorted out because we sort of released all of that, and so we have to. And again, with this day and age, in the future, again, you have to sort of manage stuff through social media, so you almost drip feed things in.
Yeah.
And so we're making announcements to keep, and you have to keep the visibility on the internet and all that before we actually start doing something.
The word is engagement. Yes, you have to drive the engagement. I hate.
Yeah,
I'm having to learn all of those words myself
Well,
because I'm trying to do more of this
I despise it in general, but I suppose it's to my benefit, isn't it? But there we go.
I feel exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, I cringe every time I have to tell people to like and subscribe. And please, everyone, do like and subscribe. But it's just, it's fuck. I hate speaking that language.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting kickoff because, like I say, they've been planning it since last October, I think.
Yeah.
I got involved, call it a couple of months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and everything is happening next year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of there's kind of a big gap of apparently nothing happening until we actually go and play a gig, unless something happens in London at the end of this year.
Of course, yeah, but it gives you plenty of time to prepare and hone and refamiliarize.
Yeah. I mean, I've already got the set down, so I know the songs. I play through them 2-3 times a week because I can just stand there and sort of just play along, and then get together in person, which I'm looking forward to. Like I say, there's going to be a couple of days.
Yeah.
So might not be rehearsing for all of those couple of days, but it'll just be good to make it happen at the same time. Just playing along to the records is one thing. Playing along, with everyone else is another, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, do you have any songs that you would be hoping to champion to get into the set list that you think are possibly not a given? So you said earlier, "Cry of Mankind." Obviously, it's going to be in there. Is there anything that you'd like to see in the set list that you think maybe, that you might have to fight for?
I've already mentioned Vasquez. That's always been a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
Like I say, we're only doing stuff from the first 4 albums
Mm-hmm.
and the 3 EPs, so we only have those to choose from. I think we need to maybe get 1 or 2 in from As the Flower Withers,
Mm-hmm.
because we focused on Turn Loose and Like Gods.
Mm-hmm.
So might need to pull a few of the the proper old songs out maybe and do that. And there's obviously all the EPs too. So I Am the Bloody Earth and all that sort of stuff. So we could throw some of those in. So we're not short of content, and it's we're effectively playing our own songs as a tribute or a cover band, aren't we? Because we're not MDB, but we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a weird sort of disparity and duality of existence that we're going through.
You're following the Black Sabbath template though, because they did the same thing with Heaven and Hell, and nobody gave them any shit for it. Like, do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Yeah, but it's an embarrassment of riches in terms of what you have to pick from there. I don't think there's a bad song in the bunch. Do you know what I mean? It really, really concentrated 4 albums, 3 EPs, a couple of the 7 inches and stuff. But like, you could put together a couple of really, really good set lists from that small catalog, and it would be very, very satisfying to see live.
Yeah, I mean, as you alluded to, we play pretty long songs anyway, so
yeah.
And set lists are normally pretty short, but that still fills an hour and a bit. So I think we've got about an hour and 10 maybe at the moment. I need to pare that down for festivals if we have less time, or Aaron's going to have to tell some jokes to span it out a bit, if not.
That's what I was going to say too, is because I suppose the festival set list would maybe be different than the club set list. Do you know what I mean? In terms
Yeah.
of you're catering to a bigger crowd, so you maybe want to go for maybe high energy songs or more aggressive songs. You don't want to be playing Le Surf Malade at Wacken. Do you know what I mean? Which would be the
Yeah.
ballsiest thing to do, but it's never going to happen. So
Well, we've never sort of shied away from doing mad stuff, have we? Like we
yeah,
got the fiddle involved, and CME was always an interesting one.
yeah, of course. What? How do you feel about playing? Shows like Wacken 8. I mean, you would have played some big. Obviously, Dynamo is the famous one, immortalized on that video. But in terms of big festivals, it's got to been a long time since you played anything like that.
Yeah, very much. Because I'm weirdly stepping back in where I left.
Yeah.
Because when I left, we were doing flyers and wasn't really doing big tours or anything. It was kind of go out, play Wacken, and come back. So I think I played Wacken before, played Grasshopper a few times. Was a few other festivals. There's one in France that I can't remember the name of. Used to be at Le Mans.
Well, Hellfest is France.
Hellfest, yeah, I think we played that at some point.
Pink
when that
Pop
was
is in Belgium. No, not Netherlands, I think.
Pink Pop is Belgium. I never played that.
Yeah.
I've been once. Right? That year that a storm came in and blew trees down and killed a few people.
Oh, yes, right, yeah.
That was auspicious. But yeah, it's pretty much stepping back in. So at some point we might be getting a tour bus and getting the tour bus out to the festival, or it could be sort of flying out. Like I say, which is why I've sorted the amp out. We're going to be getting all the cases right for flying and all that sort of stuff. So we've got professional crew that know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're sort of starting again and just getting your mates to help carry stuff. We've got people that sort of know what's happening.
Yeah, you're going to support. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a weird continuation because I can see in my head where to go for Grasspop.
Yeah.
Because you park all the buses on a residential street, which I always found really funny because there's lots of very nice houses.
Yeah.
Bungalows and stuff like that, and obviously people living there and just going about their daily business. And there's a fuck ton of tour buses parked outside, loads of hairy people wandering around.
Yeah.
But you just go down the road, and there's security, and so if you've got your pass, you're in there, and then you're backstage, and all the dressing rooms and stuff like that are there.
That's like you say, with the muscle memory, with the bass, the muscle memory for just existing in that performing world, it'll probably all come back to you too.
Yeah. There's never any kind of nerves on stage.
Yeah.
Because we'd worked up from small clubs and done it for a long period of time. There might be the first time this time, or the first few times, because I haven't done it for a bit and just sort of standing up there and whatever. But that's what rehearsal room's for, and having a bit of a warm up gig in a few smaller ones first, and just making sure that we perform adequately on stage and get used to it again.
Yeah, it's going to be great too, though, knowing how many of those people are there to see you. Do you know what I mean? You're not entering a hostile environment. You're entering a welcoming environment, which is
the support we've had from people already has been amazing. Loads of people have sort of been sending me messages when they found out when it got announced, and there's a good friend of mine called Danny Verhoeven in Belgium who was like, "What the fuck is going on with this?" They were brilliant. It's like, yeah, it's all going ahead. And the loads of people are saying, yeah, if you want any extra gigs, and I can arrange those for you and stuff like that. And so people are actively trying to get us to come along and saying that their friends and the comments that they've seen, that they're all really positive and people are excited about it. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, because it'll attract probably some people who have drifted away from My Dying Bride over the years as well, which is a good thing because. Just for all kinds of reasons that we've already said, but it's always good to see original musicians playing their songs. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to be cracking.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what modern MDB sound like.
Yeah.
Like I say, that's not being snide about it or anything. I just haven't listened to any. So asking you a question for a change. What do you think the difference is between modern MDB and like middle MDB after Calvin and then the early MDB?
Okay. I think it sounds less collaborative. I think it sounds less like the product of a band of musicians with playing styles and personalities. And also, I think you mentioned earlier something about maybe a lack of consistency in terms of. I get this right because I did this with Rick as well. So you had. If you take a couple of different album sequences in a row, as a drummer, who's on the stool is a big thing, right? And that's true as a fan of all kinds of bands. Like with AC/DC, for example, when it goes from from Rod to Simon. I want to say Phillips, but it's not Simon Phillips, but the Simon that replaced Phil Rudd, and then on Chris Slade, and then Rod comes back. It changes so much about the way that you hear the band. But with MDB, there's a lot of turnover. The Spinal Tap levels of turnover, except with Spinal Tap, the drummers were dying, whereas in MDB, they move in like a sort of triangle thing. So you had Rick, and then you had Bill, and then you had Sean. 3 albums in a row. And then that happens again later with Sean and John and Dan. And then it happens again later with Dan and Sean and Jeff, I think. And it's just, it's hard to feel like, you don't know which version of Bye Down Bride you're going to get. And they had a little bit of stability with Jeff because he did an album and an EP. But then the last album came out and Dan was drumming again. And it's just hard to know, you never really know where you're at with it. But I don't feel like it sounds like the product of a band where the keyboard player is bringing, ideas and sounds to the table. And I don't know if this is going to make the final edit, because again, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but yeah, it old MDB. Your personality shines through. Rick's personality shines through. Calvin's and Andy's personalities shine through. Martin, Aaron, everybody. And then that also applies with Sean and Hamish too. But since then, maybe not quite so much.
Interesting.
But if you want to check out an interesting album, Ghost of Orion was very good. I like that one a lot. But that was the last one that I thought there was some real... There's a real passion in that album, and what Jeff was doing was very interesting. And obviously Aaron had been through hell before that album came out, and some of that translates into the record in a way that at times is like, I'm not comparing my experience with his, but it's fucking hard to listen to. I mean, the crack, but it's hard to listen to. It must have been great to get that out of him and immortalized on that record. But yeah. Are you looking forward to, with whatever you can speak about, with is perhaps within limits, but are you looking forward to writing again?
Yeah.
Initially,
it's just going to be sort of settling in and doing a few gigs and getting it all together and seeing what happens. I've listened to some of Calvin's Many Suffer. Aaron's doing High Parasite, but I don't think there's going to be much crossover from that.
Yeah.
But there'll definitely be sort of some Many Suffer influences. And see where we end up.
We'll see if I could do a little bit of.
If you've listened to Many Suffer, you know that Calvin's got in there.
Get this on Calvin's Bandcamp, everybody. Many Suffer. There are still copies of this available. Buy it, because they ought to be fast. Yeah, now that the proper promo there, but it's really good. I love it. Absolutely love that album.
Yeah. He's gone sort of a bit more black metal.
Yeah.
Direction. All these sort of tremolo picking and all that sort of stuff. But that also equates to what I used to write in MDB early doors anyway, because beginning of Brass Squires, that's more or less black metal, isn't it, dude?
Yeah.
A bit more tuneful maybe, but just see where it ends up, because we're inevitably going to be judged and compared with anything new that we produce.
Yeah.
So get our act together, get some stuff written, see how it pans out, see what it sounds like. It's going to be whatever we produce. It's not going to be trying to be MDB again. It's just going to be whatever noise we sort of fancy making.
That's, of course, you have an interesting situation there, Ed, where you're playing music that has a cutoff point of 30 years ago, but that doesn't mean that you're going to, write and record new music in that dimension, So that's what's most exciting, is to see 4 guys plus the other members of Towards the Sinister focusing on a period and playing songs that people want to hear again, but hearing the creative output of that group where they are now. So you've got this gap in the middle. It's really exciting. You have no idea where things are going to go, because sometimes these bands get back together and they say, right, we're going to make an album just like what things used to sound like. There's no way you guys are going to do that. I know from who I've spoken to already, it just doesn't seem to be in your personality. Plus, it would be so cynical to do that, Towards the cynical, but yeah.
That's kind of why I said that we're going to produce what we produce.
Yeah.
So, I mean, MDB was always, we just wrote what we wrote. There was no, we have to sound like this. I know that some bands do that. Some bands have a style, or they write in a specific direction.
Yeah.
But we just were MDB. It was really really lucky that we were just able to kind of produce that, and that was what we naturally came up with.
Yeah.
So what we do in Towards the Sinister could be like that. Could be different. Could be faster, slower, whatever. Aaron's lyrics are still going to be great. It'll be dramatic and fall on the floor a lot. But yeah, we'll have to see when we get together.
Amazing.
Because at the moment it's just getting things started off the ground. We've got festivals queued up for next year.
Yeah.
There's some plans for 2028, but nothing concrete. But there's some ideas at least to say, right, see how 2027 goes, and then 2028. Then we might do some other things. In the meantime, there might be sort of writing, possibly recording, but it's I've only been doing it 2 months. They've only been sort of thinking about it since October, and so we've only been announced for nearly 2 weeks now. So it's properly early doors. We'll just have to see what happens.
It's brilliant. Like, I took this opportunity to talk to you, Ed, and can I just say for anybody watching this, like, I got my first message from you, I think, like 3 days ago when we were already on. So you weren't just kidding when you said that you got to give back to fans. Do you know what I mean? I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's extremely kind of you. But also it's such a relief to be able to talk about it openly now that the news is out, because there's a couple of guys that I've had on the show in the months since I did the show with Rick, where it would have been so easy to say as part of the conversations we're having, have you heard? But I can't, because secrets are secrets. Do you know what I mean? So to be able to actually just discuss it with full disclosure is it's really cool. I'm gonna let you go shortly, but I'm gonna ask you some stupid bullshit quick fire getting to know you questions before we do so you can give me as much or as little detail in your answers as you like. Okay. Where do we start? Exorcist 1 or Exorcist 3?
1.
Okay. Any reasons for that?
I just like the old school shock of the original Exorcist.
Yeah.
And I lived in DC, or just outside DC, and never actually got to see the Exorcist stairs. So
you never went, yeah.
That thing.
First time I went to see that film was a couple of years ago. I actually saw it in the cinema for the first time. Sold out screening. Must have been close to Halloween night. And shock is the word for it. And this is as a lifelong horror fan, like, must have been 37, 38, seeing The Exorcist for the first time, which probably shouldn't admit in polite company, but I was shocked. It was relentless. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scene after scene after scene.
It's terrifying, isn't it? Because there's nothing out of the ordinary there.
Yeah.
It's just all sort of mental. Obviously there's the voice that Reagan's using, and the demon and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's no monsters or anything, is there? It's just that is scary as fuck.
It's extraordinary. Yeah. And then I watched.
They got a scene out of it too, didn't they? Because I thought it was weird. There's some kind of she crab walks up the stairs.
That was in the version I watched. Yeah. So that's in the director's cut, which has some people there are scenes in both versions that are like exclusive to those versions, and some of them are better and some of them are worse. There's a great bit where the two priests have a conversation on the staircase in the longer cut, where they say that they kind of explain the whole concept of what it would mean to them to have this victory, whereas in the original version that everybody's seen, there's just a shot of them in the stairs and neither of them are speaking, which is just as powerful for different reasons. So yeah, but I'm a nut, and I don't know why I started asking people Exorcist 1 or Exorcist 3, but it just seemed to come to me as a question. So
yeah, because was there 2 as well? Because
of course, yeah.
Obviously, had to get to 3, but I seem to remember it being they had to climb up some cliff in Ethiopia. There's a scene there's some little rope ladders to get to some kind of monastery or something up there and all that. And then there was a recent possession sort of film with Russell Crowe in. That wasn't too bad. That was pretty good.
I didn't see that one. No, there's a documentary about the making of Exorcist 2 that's coming out later this year. That's got very, very good press reviews because it's a famously bad sequel, and was fraught with interference from the studio and everything. But that could be pretty interesting. Best Napalm Death album?
Best Napalm Death album?
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm old enough to remember it and having bought it when it first came out, so I'm going to say Scum.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Because again, it was brand new, wasn't it? You got Napalm Death and you put it on because growing up there was a band called Hell Bastard, Don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They were heading for eternal darkness and singing songs about pylons because they're all vegetarians and stuff. And you used to go to Bradford and go to the Frog and Toad, and there was a load of straight edges there who didn't drink and were vegans and
Yeah.
obviously stuff like that. So all the straight edges were great fun to hang around with. But they were into all of the extreme music.
Yeah.
And then there was the 1 in 12 club in Bradford, which is where they used to go mainly on the straight edges. So that was all sort of vegetarian food and stuff like that. And I can't remember what 1 in 12 was. It's probably one person in 12 are doing something, but I'll look that up. But yeah, around that time, sort of early 80s, wasn't it? Mid 80s.
Yeah.
And Scum came out, and it's like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
What are you lads doing? I've got you suffer on my phone as like a message alert every now and then, but it scares the tits off people.
Did you see the show that they did for Tiny Desk concerts on YouTube there about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Really, really you talk about it. People like to use the word intimate now for concerts, really incredible performance.
They've turned up on all sorts of mad stuff, haven't they? Of Napalm Death, because John Peel championed them for a while.
He did, yeah. They were on TFI Friday. They were on Skin. They were on Skins.
Craig Charles had them on something.
Oh, Craig Charles. It was What's That Noise? I think it was called.
Yeah, I think that was it. But
Yeah.
you just mad stuff like Napalm Death come on, and
Yeah.
were they on Red Dwarf? Or was that Carcass?
It was Carcass, yeah. Although on the commentary track, Craig Charles incorrectly identifies them as Napalm Death, but then Bill was in both groups around about that time, I suppose. So that's fair. But the amazing thing was that they always managed to avoid getting tarred with the novelty brush when they did those things. Because even though Chris Evans would have had them on, sort of 7 o'clock, sort of tea time, Channel 4, and it's like, haha, look at this funny metal band with the short songs. They go out there and they fucking kill it, and people pay attention to them for the right reasons, and then go off and become Napalm Death fans, even though it's sort of, check out these. So yeah,
Enslavement to Obliteration is another great album, but
it is. It's there are no bad Napalm Death. Can I say that definitively? Yeah, there are no bad Napalm Death albums. I think that's probably where the question came from, as well. And nobody, no two guests have given the same answer so far, which is good. So
excellent. Yeah, and Shane Embry is an absolute gem of a person too. He's a really nice bloke, isn't he?
Very, very nice. Yeah, really enjoyed talking to Shane. Would love to again at some stage. What about the Prodigy? Have you got a favorite Prodigy single?
Favorite Prodigy single? Listening to it at a friend's house last night. I really like One Love.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
That sounds great. So I remember we were on tour at the time, and we checked into a hotel in Belgium, in a place called Saint Nicolas, just before we did the gig. And you turned MTV on as you do in the room, and One Love had just come out, and it looked like absolutely the future because it had like all the CGI graphics and stuff like that. And we're big fans of Prodigy Experience, which is another absolutely amazing album.
Yes.
And early doors we used to sort of put that on when we were in these really small clubs, and we had a smoke machine.
Yeah.
As you'll probably see from any old videos of us, you can hardly see us because Aaron's just leaning on the smoke machine, but no one's on.
Yeah.
And so we used to fill the belly up with smoke, have our dinner or whatever, just knock about the gig. And before anyone else got let in, and while we're sound checking stuff like that, and then you start to play the Prodigy Experience through the PA.
Yeah,
great stuff.
It's a great album. Yeah, the older I got, the more I came to appreciate the Prodigy Experience. And I think now my favorite disc of anything Prodigy is the bonus disc that came with the later reissue of that, which I suppose is like the B-sides from all the singles and stuff. But like if anybody out there likes the Prodigy and you haven't heard, what's it called? The Prodigy Experience Expanded, I think that's what it's called. And the cover's gold instead of white. Well, it's a great collection of tunes.
I'm more of a fan of the earlier Prodigy stuff. Not wanting to sound like old fashioned or anything, but Prodigy Experience and Fat the Land and Jilted Generation and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the later stuff too, and it's really heavy, but I suppose this comes with getting older too, though. I mean, you associate more with the music that you heard when you were younger, and then the Prodigy, I think, changed their target demographic as I got older, which meant that inevitably I kind of thought, this music's not for me, this music's for adverts on Channel 4. But then eventually I did come back to it and rediscover it, and it's all good. I don't know if I asked anybody this one before. Do you like Hammer films?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite Hammer film, or a couple even?
Favorite Hammer film. I mean, having said I like them, I can't name any.
Yeah.
But if they're on, they're always worth a watch.
They are always worth a watch.
You remember memories of watching them as a kid and being absolutely terrified, and Dracula can't cross running water and stuff like that, and some of the scenery is always a bit chunky, and the sets are a bit crappy, but that was all part of the charm, wasn't it? I think there was one with cats in. Can't remember what that one was called. There's one where the cats are actually murdering and eating people, which I thought was great because as you can see, I've got cats.
Yes.
And I have what's his name, cookbook, Vincent Price, I think.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, did you know he did a cookbook?
I did, yeah. He had a cooking TV show as well. The BFI put that out on Blu-ray a couple of years ago. I'll just address the camera while Mr. Jackson is off screen here, folks.
Absolutely,
There,
yes.
yes, there we go. Yes.
That's Vincent Price's cookbook because he was a bit of a gourmand back in the day.
As are you.
As am I, yes, apparently.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've seen your Instagram feed, man. That's. I've never got so hungry trying to find somebody on the internet. And by the way, Ian, at some stage you'll probably come across those messages and go, "I must get back to that guy." It's me. That's who I am. So
Is that it?
but,
Right, good,
yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
It was kind of private for a while, but I've had to sort of make it go public and all that sort of stuff. So, managing people's expectations by, I'm new to Towards the Sinister. It's mainly food and cats.
Yes. What are your cats' names?
That's Mr. Loud. That was Steve, and I have Heliquin, who's out and about somewhere. She's just a little kitten,
Yes.
and I have two remains on the shelf of Elizabeth Moogaloo and Margot Beaujolais, who sadly passed away recently.
How do you get from How do you get from those two names to Steve? That's what I want to know.
Well,
There's a scale there. Do you know what I mean?
there's a scale. I've had Steve for about 14 odd years.
Yeah.
He just shouts at you when he wants. He comes. He goes, ah.
Yeah.
Absolutely tuneless. He's been on so many conference calls for work.
Yeah.
He'll just sort of jump on the desk and go, ah, and someone's like, is someone pretending to be a cat? So no, that's actually a real cat.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of the monkey in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yes, I haven't seen
Got
that
the monkey
one.
thought translator on there, and he just goes, Steve. So that's him.
Excellent bit of cat nomenclature background. Our cat's named Maud. I think we tried to name her Mog after the famous black cat Mog, and we kept calling her Maud by accident. So I'm happy to let people believe that she was named after the Irish revolutionary Maud Gonne.
All right,
and indeed one person did say to me, "Is your cat named after Maud Gonne?" And I was like, "Yes." But yeah,
Yes.
cool.
Was it Connolly as well, isn't there? Is it John Connolly?
Michael was
Michael Connolly. That's him,
Michael Collins. That was
Collins.
Yeah.
Sorry, I completely messed that up. Yeah, he's
Yeah. And right, one last one, Ed. What have you been listening to lately?
listening to. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. I'm a big fan of Ghost.
Okay.
They're kind of middle of the road and stuff like that, but I think Forge has done an amazing job with producing Ghost. Starting where he started, and he was playing arenas and stuff like that now. So he's done a
Yeah.
great job of just having the mythos go all the way through and the story, and the Papa Emeritus characters and the nameless ghouls and all that sort of stuff. I think he's done brilliant. And the songs are the early stuff, Folk Satan, all sorts of stuff like that. That's really sort of tongue in cheek, having a bit of a giggle, and it's got a bit more sort of middle of the road and producing stuff as he's gone on. But it's still just a good listen. It's a good tune, isn't it?
Yeah.
I have kind of come across a lot of atmospheric guitar stuff, a
Okay.
bit like Nordic Giants, and there's the if the trees could talk or something, I think.
That rings a bell.
And there's also an Irish band, God is an Astronaut.
Yes, I know that one as well. I didn't know they were Irish though.
Sorry,
Sorry, fellow Irish people.
All right. So I've kind of listened to a fair bit of that because it's just pretty relaxing. Kind of put that on.
Yeah.
Also, have you heard of Craven Faults?
No.
It's on my Instagram feed if you want to sort of see what some of that's like. Electronica, but sort of analog synths.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a really old dude. He's like 75, 80 or something. Used to be in education, teaching people about analog synths. And someone came up to him saying, "There's probably some legs in this if you want to do something with it."
Yeah.
And we started doing Craven Faults albums. And it's absolutely mesmerizing, especially seeing him live,
Yeah.
because the changes are so subtle. So you can listen to it, and if you phase out and do something and come back, it's completely different because everything's changed. But if you sit there and actually listen, it's
You
little
wouldn't.
tiny
Yeah.
things all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
sort of tweaking and going all along. Because the gig I went to recently to see him was the support band was a 20-minute film about from the 1960s about steam trains going over the Ribbleshead Viaduct.
Okay.
And then he just projected like a picture of the moors because it's all about moors and all the album titles and the song titles and stuff like that. So places on the moors that are around here and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the pictures are sort of black and white and very moody and beautiful. And then so he just projected this video in between like the support band, which is the film, of just sheep grazing on the moors. So
Yeah.
all the whole stage was just like sheep having a shit and eating some grass and sort of wagging their tails and having a look around and stuff. And then he comes on, doesn't say a word, pull these sheets off, and say look on the Insta feed, it's just massive patch cables, two reel-to-reel recorders. He had a keyboard that he used once, I think, just played one note on it, and just fires it up, and it's one continuous bit of music all the way through the set, tiny little changes. And so you're sitting there listening to it, and all of a sudden there's a different sort of beeping noise that is gradually fading down. There's a different bass sort of note that's coming along, stuff like that. It's mesmerizing to listen to. It's really good.
I love the idea of something like that too, which can never be duplicated. You know what I mean? You can never play the same thing twice because of the nature of how the knob twiddling evolves. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, big fan of that. And also the Sword.
Okay,
them recently. They're sort of fairly old. What else was there? There was it Droids Attack? That's not what I like. It's kind of getting into kind of heading into stoner metalish, that sort of stuff, sort of old fashioned sort of rock.
But you're like a lot of guys in metal bands that it's not primarily metal that you're listening to.
Yeah, I listen to all sorts. I like them sort of electronica, as you know, something the Prodigy and stuff like that. I like old fashioned stuff like good music like the Police. Big fan of the Police. They're really good to listen to. But also some of the classics like Iron Maiden and Motorhead and all that sort of stuff sort of pops up. I use YouTube Music rather than Spotify, just because I pay YouTube, so I don't get any ads.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good at getting where you are and stuff, and sort of recommending some stuff every now and then to have a look at. Big fan of Rush.
Hang on, what did you say? Rush?
Yes.
Man, the one thing I didn't talk to you about, I've broke my streak, but now you've rescued it, Ed. Rush.
Excellent.
We got to talk about Rush.
Excellent, yeah.
How do you feel about the recent Rush developments? You've been watching footage of the shows with Annika? And
I've not seen footage of the shows, but I did get 2 tickets to see them in Manchester next year.
Oh, you one up me then. I'm not going to any shows. Yeah.
No, well, I've got a spare one.
Well, now let's just hold on to that. Yes, we'll revisit it at some stage.
We'll
perhaps,
revisit that in person then, shall we?
Yes.
I bought 2 because I was going to go, couldn't find anyone else that wanted to go, so I'll get 2 tickets and then see if anyone wants to come along.
Right. Okay. Well, in case you get unless you get a better offer, I'll volunteer for. I suppose I may keep you company. All right, then, Ed, you've twisted me. Right. Well, okay. Let's.
Rush are great, aren't they? They've done some absolute belting classic songs. Geddy Lee's astounding. His bass playing is brilliant. It's now I've got a few bass. I'm going to try and sit down there and learn some of his bass lines and stuff. Because
man, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard work. I think like it's weird as a drummer. When I'm watching Rush live footage, I'm watching Geddy. I'm always watching Geddy and just how he's what he's doing and the aggression and the attack and the musicality, the composition. And then also what he's doing with vocals, and sometimes what he's triggering with his feet on the pedals as well. I'm in absolute awe of all 3 of them, and now with Annika as well. I think there's this guy on YouTube. His YouTube name I think is Tapehead2. That's a TOO, and he just goes to Rush shows with a really really good camera and films the whole thing basically from a static point. And so he'll go to like 2 shows and he'll film the whole band for 1 show. The next night he'll go and just film Annika. Then the next night he'll go and not film anything so he can enjoy the show. And then he'll take a week off and then he'll do the same thing again. So he's just he's just archiving these shows for the benefit of people that can't make them. But he did the whole first concert just on Annika. So I'm just watching there and just loving to see how she changes her approach to playing Neil's parts. And as I said to Barker, she's not playing all of the parts. She's not playing the parts, she's playing the songs. Do you know what I mean? She's allowed to change things when she wants to, but I'm a complete nerd about stuff like that. But if you haven't read or listened to Geddy's book, you gotta get a copy of that because it's fantastic. And he's done the audiobook, and I think Alex appears a couple of times because of course he does. Do you know what I mean? But even on the recording, but it's a terrific book. You're only allowed to save 1 Rush album from the incoming obliteration of culture that's hinted at in 2112. Yeah, which one's it going to be?
Oh, that's an impossible question, isn't it?
I don't even think I have an answer to that question. Yeah.
What album's New World Man on? Because that's one of my favourite songs.
Signals. The one with
Signal.
the
Right,
dog, the dog in the front. Yeah.
let's save that one then.
Yeah, we'll go with Signals. I like Signals. It's probably my favorite. I think they call them Alex Lifeson chords, but
Yeah.
there's a chord that he plays on. Oh, come on! You need to know the name of the song. I'm not going to be able to reach a copy of Signals, am I? Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. Wow, that one, whatever that chord is.
Yeah.
That's the one. I'll put that in the time
Yeah.
capsule.
I like a big fan of Big Money as well. That's a great. It just looks like a Miami Vice video, there, doesn't it? With a really blocky sort of graphics of the video. That's great.
Oh,
And obviously, Red Barchetta and stuff like that. That's fantastic.
yeah.
And
See, maybe more a fan of the '80s stuff than the '70s stuff, then, Ed.
yeah, I'd say so.
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
know all Rush is great, but some of the kind of slightly more modern stuff.
Yeah.
And the skills that Geddy Lee's got, he's up there with people like Sting. If you listen to what Sting's playing,
Yeah.
and then you listen to the rhythm of what he's singing at the same time, and said, how does that work, mate? You must have two brains.
Yeah, I'm only kind of coming to the Police quite late in my, life as a music fan the past couple of years. If I was going to listen to a Police album for the first time, because every time now that they come on shuffle or maybe the radio or whatever, I find myself going, a new one, but I haven't listened to an album yet. What's the first album I should go for?
Try Regatta de Blanc, I think it is.
Okay.
Or I have somewhere the whole Police collection, which is bought as a box set, so it's like 4 CDs, so there isn't that much.
There isn't that a pile, yeah.
Yeah, you could probably just queue them up and have a listen, because some belters on there.
Nice one, yeah.
Some stuff that you wouldn't probably associate with the Police, stuff like Tea in the Sahara, like a sort of really sort of slow, plodding along sort of song, rather than anything sort of upbeat like Roxanne, where it gets slightly reggae.
Yes,
Andy Cragen never liked the Police. He just said it's white reggae, so he wasn't a fan of them at all. But there's that kind of stabby guitar and whatever, and Sting doing mental bass lines.
Yeah, they were incredible musicians. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was that reggae thing that kind of put me off for the longest time, but I don't know what it was. I must have watched some live footage where Stewart was doing something. Someone was like, check out what Copeland does in this track, and I watched it, and then I watched it again, and I was paying attention to Sting, who Copeland hates, I think. I don't know if that's slanderous to say that on YouTube, but they have a complicated relationship, Sting and Copeland, I think.
I don't think they get on too well, but
yeah.
Copeland's great. He's on YouTube a lot of the times, and he's got his own channel and stuff. And have you heard of Drumeo?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I think Copeland's on there a few times, isn't he? Just sort of listening to stuff, and he's really gregarious, just having a chat with him, and he's sort of really effusive. Has a lot to say about things, and takes the piss, and is you know that there's something snide going on, but he's not saying that in particular. He's just kind of making a joke out of it. And
he's great. Yeah, he always turns up on music documentaries on BBC4 as well. Just not even necessarily just to talk about drums, but he's good. He's a good hand for that kind of thing. Right. Well, listen, I've taken up so much of your time, for which again I'm grateful.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, likewise, Ed. It's really, really cool to be able to talk to you in this context. You know what I mean? It's again, months ago, reached out to colleague, old friend, bandmate of yours, Rick. Just to talk to him, and then just about his career, I guess, and to be in this stage where now we're talking about you guys taking those songs back for yourselves and getting back up on the stage, and I'm never really good at ending these things, but it's.
I can just cut you off if you want. I'll just leave halfway through a sentence.
I don't know, no man, it's really cool. And listen, we'll
yeah, if you want another talk, just let me know. If anything changes or anything gets announced and you want to have a chat about it, then I'll try and remember some more stuff.
I think I will. Do you know what the best thing I can do to end it is to try to rope you into an idea that I've had with with a couple other people, and you might have even seen. And don't worry if you haven't. It's not awkward if you say that you haven't. But I did a video recently where I had a commentary track on an album that Nick Barker played on. So me and Nick talked about one of his albums as the album played, which is an idea that I kind of nicked because Aaron and Andy did it for Turn Loose the Swans years ago. And I'd be quite interested in doing that with some MDB stuff with some of you guys, if you thought you might be up for it at some stage. Yeah, because it's as a certain type of nerdy music listener that type of music I think really appeals to, where detail about like this part while the part's playing is a cool thing to hear about. So we might get onto a commentary one stage and see what a couple of you guys have to say about some of the old stuff.
Oh, well, like I say, I think I've got some pre-production CDs upstairs, so we're halfway through writing some of the songs.
Yeah.
If I can dig some of those out and they work, then maybe we could have a listen to some of that and try and figure out what it was that we're trying to record at the time.
That's even. Yeah, please do. That,
No one will have heard those.
Yeah, no, that's fucking amazing. Yeah, I would really, really like to
Yeah,
hear that.
tons of photos, both digital and real photos and passes and stuff like that. So
Brilliant. Yeah, you should see. You should tell Waz about that. Waz would be really interested in that sort of thing. I don't know if you've spoken to him, and maybe
was
not.
like,
Yeah.
I met him with Ed, my Irish friend Ed. Went to see Dead Can Dance in Manchester a few years ago.
Cool. Yeah.
And was turned up, and what's his name from Anathema turned up as well, and it was really good because Ed used to write to Waz because he was dead famous back in the day, wasn't he, for tape trading and stuff like that. And so he was like a kid who's like, fucking hell, all these people that have just used to write to back in the day, and they're all just turned up in Manchester. It's like brilliant fun.
He's very much on my wavelength in terms of that nerdy appreciation of these things, and me and him have been chatting the past couple of months, and he's a very, very nice, very nice, accommodating guy for my questions about all kinds of stupid stuff. But all right. Well, listen, that's a date, as they say. Then we'll maybe get that done if you can get those CDs, and even if you can't, we'll do something more, fan pleasing.
I'll dig some stuff out and call you on email, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Nice one. All right. Well, listen, man, have a great week. I'll try to get this up in the next probably Wednesday. I usually shoot for with these shows, so you'll know when it's up. But by now, for anyone watching this, that's the past. So hope everyone had a good weekend. You see, I told you I'm rubbish at this. No, it's cool.
It's the 2nd of August for reference.
Yes, indeed it is. It is. And
right, enjoy the gig tonight as well, man.
Cheers. Yes, Ed. Thank you very much. And I look forward to speaking to you again, man.
Thank you again. Take care.
All the best. See ya.